Yu Ziyao transmigrates into a fantasy world and becomes a minor figure of the righteous faction, the Taijuan Holy Land. He possesses heaven-defying comprehension, yet is born with an ordinary mortal body. At this moment, a system is activated. As long as he creates cultivation techniques and spreads them to others, he can obtain rewards and defy fate itself. A mortal body worse than a dog? Then I'll use this mortal body to slaughter gods and prove the Tao. However, as more techniques are created, the entire Holy Land starts to feel less and less righteous. You created the Sunflower Manual and taught it to your disciples. 10,000 disciples castrated themselves, their cultivation skyrocketed. Reward, Bull Demon Kidney. You created 3 heads and 6 arms and taught it to your disciples. 100,000 disciples installed tiger heads, wolf heads, and for killing arms. Divine powers perfected. Reward, True Dragon Heart. You created the Taiyin Jade Maiden Heart Sutra and taught it to the Holy Sun. The Holy Sun turned into a woman. Combat power greatly increased. Reward, Tao Fusion Flower. You created 1 Che transforms into 3 pure ones and taught it to a great emperor. The emperor mentally tortured himself every day, eventually splitting into 3 people to research. Separately, the mortal arts perfected. Ding! The number of cultivators has reached 10 million. Reward, Supreme Immortal Weapon, Chaos Immortal Bell. Several years later, the demonic factions launch a siege against the Righteous Alliance. Not a single normal person among them, and you're telling me these are the righteous ones, facing tens of millions of insane, grotesque disciples. The demonic cultivators completely collapse, kneel to the ground, and beg for mercy. Immortal Emperor Yi, please stop creating cultivation techniques. Yi Xiao can now be said to be the greatest threat to the demonic path. Leaving aside the fact that the decisive battle between the righteous and demonic factions hasn't yet begun, even without a war, this incident will instantly put Yi Xiao in grave danger. It would be very difficult to defend against an assassination attempt by a quasi-emperor. Even the eternal life ancestor cannot constantly be by Yi Xiao's side. Furthermore, no one knows whether there are treacherous individuals within the Righteous Path Alliance who might attempt to assassinate Yi Xiao. In the face of immense benefits, human nature is the hardest thing to consider. One moment someone might die for you, the next they might kill you. Only with immense strength can one be unafraid of all threats. Yi Xiao calmly opened his mouth, his body overflowing with chaotic energy, and his internal magical power surging. If an outsider were to see through him, they could see that his forehead, chest, and lower abdomen formed a single line. The seeds of the 3 laws, soul, power, and sword had grown into towering trees, completely perfected. Especially the great tree of swordsmanship, deep within which chaotic mist filled the air. A large space nearly a meter in diameter had opened up. This was the perfection of the law, giving birth to the primordial form of a small world, filled with the laws of swordsmanship. Similarly, the soul law in his forehead and the power law in his chest nurtured the primordial forms of 2 small worlds. Furthermore, his dual cultivation with Len Yaoji, possessing 1,000 years of energy, had pushed Yi Xiao into the great saint realm. 1 perfected law allows one to reach the peak of the saint realm. 2 perfected laws make one a saint king. 3 perfected laws make one a great saint. 6 perfected laws make one a peak great saint. And 9 laws make one a quasi-emperor. 9 nines united into one, 9 small worlds merging into a great world, is the foundation of a great emperor. Possessing not only the laws, but also the power of the world, this is the fundamental reason why great emperors overwhelm quasi-emperors and great saints. And this great world is also the source of the god-demon belief system. From the outside world's perspective, Yi Xiao is still stuck at the saint stage. Even with his extraordinary talent, it would take several years, even decades, to reach the Saint King realm. This, in any era, would be considered super fast. Yet Yi Xiao broke through to the Great Saint realm in just a few months. If this news spread, it would shake the Kingyuan realm, and even the old monsters in the Dark Forbidden Zone would likely be terrified. It's too exaggerated. Of course, reaching the Great Saint realm so quickly is not only due to Yi Xiao's extraordinary talent, but also the system's reward of a pile of sacred and divine medicines. Furthermore, cultivating together with the most powerful female emperor of the mythical era, stealing her primordial yin, and gaining thousands of years of inner strength. Only then could such an effect be achieved. It's a pity I didn't comprehend her laws, otherwise I would already be a great saint at the peak. Yi Xiao sighed inwardly. Even with dual cultivation, the effect would never be as good as it is now. Now that I'm a great saint, my combat power. Except for the Quasi-Emperor, no one below me is my match. Yi Xiao thought. His current strength is incredibly powerful. The Chaos Immortal Demon body is perfected, wielding chaos, crushing all laws. However, that's still not enough to advance to the Quasi-Emperor, or even Great Emperor. The fastest path is killing. Yi Xiao narrowed his eyes, revealing a fierce glint. Of the 9 laws, he now has 3 at the peak. While resisting the blood tribulation, the law of thunder also reached the threshold. He still needs 5 more laws. For him, the fastest way to comprehend was to find a group of cultivators practicing different demonic laws and conduct dissection and research. Nothing was faster than observing and comprehending the fundamental laws. Saints, saint kings, and great saints were all fine, but great saints were best because they possessed more laws, and they were all top quality. 1 or 2 wouldn't do, it had to be a whole group. A great invention requires thousands, even tens of thousands of experiments, so I must experiment, just like Edison invented the light bulb. He experimented 6,000 times. Coincidentally, the demonic path destroyed Kunlun and Penglai. Now it's my turn for the righteous path to counterattack. Yi Xiao thought for a long time and finally decided. First, destroy the Yin-Yang sect. Gather hundreds of saint-level powerhouses and bring them back for dissection and research. As for why they sought out the Yin-Yang sect, it was because among the 13 demonic sects, the Yin-Yang sect's location was unfavorable. It was close to the Taijuan sect, and its strength wasn't the strongest, making an attack relatively easy. Tour. Inform the leaders of the 7 great sacred lands that we will meet in 7 days, Yi Xiao instructed. Okay, Feng Tuo replied, slightly startled, but obediently didn't ask any further questions and immediately relayed the message. Meanwhile, Yi Xiao shifted his attention, took out the Enlightenment Ancient Tea Tree, and sat down. The Ancient Tea Tree's light flowed, and his mind felt cleansed, his head clear. Yi Xiao, already possessing extraordinary comprehension, saw his understanding increase even further. He then took out several books and began to read. With the Enlightenment Ancient Tea Tree, his comprehension became even more rapid. Ding, you observed the 10 great murder cases, studied 100 methods of murder, 1,000 methods of cleaning up evidence. You integrated murder and crime scene cleaning. You thought the simplest method of murder was directly grinding bones into ashes. You understand a little. You've created the divine ability grinding bones into ashes. Grinding bones into ashes, heavenly gang method, throwing one's own physical body into a corpse refining furnace for cremation, refining 1,000 kinds of 5 elements laws of extreme poison. During combat, just scatter the ashes. Whoever gets them will surely die. So it's suppressing one's own bones and scattering one's own ashes. Yi Xiao's eyes widened. At first, he thought it was suppressing the enemy's bones and scattering the enemy's ashes. He couldn't refute it, and was too lazy to argue, so he continued reading the book. Within the Righteous Path Alliance, following Yi Xiao's message, the top-tier major sacred lands were shaken, not daring to be disrespectful, and all began preparing and speculating. After the rescue operation at Mount Wu, Yi Xiao's reputation rose a notch. Previously, except for Taijuan, the other 8 major sacred lands had only heard of Yi Xiao's powerful techniques, never actually fought him. After the rescue, everyone saw just how terrifying Yi Xiao's techniques truly were. They were incredibly abnormal. Along with this, Yi Xiao's status within the Righteous Path Alliance increased, steadily surpassing several quasi-emperors. Few in the entire Righteous Path Alliance dared to underestimate Yi Xiao. The 3rd day. Ding, you observed the ancient Fish King's autobiography, My Fishing Years. You underestimated the Fish King's fishing techniques, believing that true fishing didn't require hooks. Only a fishing net. You've had a great realization. Integrating lightning techniques, you've created the sacred electric net technique. Electric net, heavenly gang law, encirclement, and killing technique. Fusion of Thunder Dao, Metal Dao, and Water Dao. You only need to personally experience the power of the electric net, which is more than 10,000 times stronger, to successfully cultivate it. Isn't this the electric fish? Yi Xiao stroked his chin. In his previous life, He had seen it before. Someone would go on a boat, tie an electric wire to a pole, and thread it into the river to create an electric fish. Wherever it went, the fish would flip over and fly around belly up. I'll teach this later. When we attack the yin-yang sect, it should be of great use. Yi Xiao continued to examine the book. 7 days later, in the main hall of the Righteous Path Alliance, Yi Xiao sat on a large chair, looking at the 8 quasi-emperors beside him. One of them was the Kunlun Wiguang quasi-emperor. Below him were the important figures of the great saint level from the various sacred lands. Being able to reach this great saint level, let alone the strongest, being at the center is no problem. I wonder why the imperial tutor suddenly summoned us, the sinful saint said in surprise. Yi Xiao had been in seclusion for a long time and basically didn't inquire about the affairs of the Righteous Path Alliance. The others all looked back. The newly joined quasi-emperor Wiguang, however, had a complex expression, feeling even more disappointed in Su Cheng for his lack of progress. Look at the difference. Yi Xiao was not even 20 years old, yet his influence in the Righteous Path Alliance was so significant, summoning all the top-tier holy lands with a single word. Moreover, his status was a notch higher than that of a quasi-emperor. Since the war began, our Righteous Path has been in a passive position. Now it's time to counterattack. Yi Xiao tapped his fingers on the railing, producing a thudding sound. Counterattack? The group was slightly startled, their eyes suddenly gleaming as they glanced at each other. We've considered this, but our Righteous Path has been constantly refining our formations and increasing our strength, so we haven't found a suitable opportunity. The Killing Sword Quasi-Emperor frowned. The overall power of the Righteous Path is inferior to that of the Demonic Path. After all, they are facing 13 top-tier demonic sects. Currently, the Righteous Path only has 7 holy lands, and the newly joined Kunlun is just a remnant army. In contrast, the Demonic Path is besieging Penglai and Kunlun, each deploying 6 major sects. The difference in numbers and strength is too great. The Righteous Path not preparing a counterattack is no different from courting death. Give me 50 great saints and over 60 saint kings, and I will lead the team to destroy the yin-yang sect. Yi Xiao said calmly. If he hadn't reached the great saint realm before, he might not have had this confidence, but now, even the combined power of several great saints was insignificant in his eyes. He could completely control the battle. As for the quasi-emperors, the second and third families were enough. The yin-yang sect's inner workings, at most, had 3 or 4 quasi-emperors, posing no threat. Of course. Most importantly, he was confident that the yin-yang sect had lost the gentle fragrance, this dark forbidden zone. There was nothing to rely on. 10. What? You want to lead a team to destroy the yin-yang sect? A commotion erupted in the main hall. The Sin Saint, the old heavenly master, and others were stunned, wondering if they had misheard. The yin-yang sect had stood strong for countless years, relying solely on these great saints and saint kings. How could it be destroyed? No, it's too dangerous. If you go, you might not return alive. The Sin Saint said at this moment, feeling that this guy had gone mad. He realized that Yi Xiao was merely a saint, and getting involved in the war to annihilate the sect was a sure death sentence. Moreover, this guy was a top-ranked wanted criminal of the demonic path. Even a quasi-emperor would likely be envious and try their best to kill him. That's ridiculous. Destroying the yin-yang sect isn't that simple. Yi Xiao, do you want to know how much of an impact your demise will have on the righteous path if you perish in this war? The great saints of the 7 great sacred lands spoke up, flatly refusing. Yi Xiao's status was too high. His death would instantly dampen the morale of the entire righteous path, which would be extremely detrimental to the subsequent war. Imperial Master, don't joke around. Even if we destroy the yin-yang sect, it will be us old geezers who take action. Zhu Jiuyan's expression was uncertain, staring intently at Yi Xiao. I'm afraid this guy might lose his temper and do something unwise. I'm not joking, I must go myself. If we delay any longer, the righteous path might not even have a sliver of a chance of winning, Yi Xiao said calmly. The righteous path's chances of winning were already slim, and if he didn't seize the opportunity to increase his cultivation to the quasi-emperor or even great emperor realm, before long, the righteous path's holy lands would likely be wiped out. The destruction of Kunlun and Penglai has already had a huge impact. If I were a member of the ancient race's royal family, and the righteous path's power was lost, I wouldn't mind joining forces with the demonic path to divide the righteous path's resources and territory. At that time, we wouldn't just be facing the demonic path. Therefore, before they form a united front, eliminating one demonic path force would serve as a warning to the ancient races, disrupting their alliance. At the very least, it would make the ancient race observe the situation and not form an alliance so prematurely, Yishaya said nonchalantly. He didn't need fortune telling to predict this kind of thing, he could guess it himself. After he finished speaking, the great hall fell silent. Many great saints and quasi-emperors were silent, not without reason. This possibility wasn't unthinkable, but no one dared to bring it up. The ancient races and the demonic path joining forces would completely destroy the righteous path. The consequences were catastrophic. Don't forget, 10 years ago the Dark Forbidden Zone began to stir up trouble. 10 years have passed, and those gods and demons could emerge from it at any time. The demonic path might just be their servant. Our true opponents are those gods and demons. Isaiah once again poured cold water on the atmosphere in the Great Hall. He truly didn't have time for conventional warfare. He would personally lead his team to destroy the Yin-Yang sect. If successful, his Chaos Immortal demon body would be perfected, his cultivation would skyrocket, and his reputation would reach unprecedented levels. The Righteous Path Alliance will also be completely under his control, becoming the true leader, and there will be no need for further discussion now. Well, the Imperial Tutor's words make sense. It's time to counterattack. The Burial Demon Quasi-Emperor pondered for a moment, then nodded. Burial Demon, you? The Killing Sword Quasi-Emperor gasped for breath, his words interrupted by the Burial Demon Quasi-Emperor. The Eternal Life Ancestor can be said to be invincible in the Quasi-Emperor realm. Possessing the capital to destroy the Yin-Yang sect, a surprise attack would have a very high success rate. After saying that, he looked at Yi Xiaoyao. If you really want to go, don't go too deep. Your strength is ultimately a bit weak. It's all right, killing a few great saints is still no problem. Yi Xiaoyao laughed loudly. The Burial Demon Quasi-Emperor remained silent, ignoring him. Yi Xiaoyao was enveloped in a layer of chaotic energy, which he couldn't see through, but he could tell that Yi Xiaoyao was still in the saint realm. Want to kill a great saint? How could that be? He'd rather believe the sky was falling. The other great saints in the hall heard this and didn't pay much attention, thinking Yi Xiaoyao was just joking to ease the tension. Seeing this, Yi Xiaoyao didn't bother to explain. Even if he revealed his cultivation, no one would believe he was already a great saint. They would only suspect him of impersonation, unless he did it himself. Throughout countless years, there have been countless extraordinary talents, but the fastest ascent from saint to great saint takes at least 1,000 years. Even great emperors are no exception. For him to go from saint to great saint in just a few months was too absurd. Who could believe it? Who would dare believe it? All right, go ahead, the Killing Sword Quasi-Emperor said helplessly, only hoping that this assassination attempt wouldn't go awry. If it's a failure, then the blow to the righteous path will be fatal. But if it's a success, morale will be greatly boosted, the demonic path's momentum will be halted, and they will have a chance to catch their breath. When the time comes for the decisive battle between the righteous and demonic paths, they will also have hope of defeating the demonic path. I'll go too, the Heavenly Punishment Quasi-Emperor nodded. His main purpose was to prevent any unforeseen circumstances, to avoid Yi Xiaoyao being inexplicably dealt with by great saints and quasi-emperors. As for the Eternal Life Ancestor, he was directly confronting the Yin-Yang sect quasi-emperor and didn't care about Yi Xiaoyao. Okay, the Burial Demon Quasi-Emperor nodded, then made arrangements, finally deciding that 4 quasi-emperors would go, along with 56 great saints and 79 saint kings. The number of esteemed figures in the starry sky was considerable. This was to avoid being discovered early. If they were discovered by other major forces of the demonic path and surrounded and killed, that would be a disaster. Finally, Yi Xiaoyao passed down several sacred techniques. Grinding bones to ashes, the peak of the Heavenly Gang technique is truly becoming more and more sinister. As expected of an imperial master, creating sacred techniques is faster than a hen laying eggs. Numerous great saints praised him profusely, their gazes towards Yi Xiaoyao becoming even more affectionate, his status in their hearts rising. At their level, further advancement was incredibly difficult, and many wanted to create techniques to benefit future generations. But the results were cruel. No matter how hard they tried to research, they could never create a single technique, even Earth-level or Heaven-level techniques, let alone a sacred technique like Yi Zhao. Within the Righteous Path Alliance, the attack on the Yin-Yang sect was scheduled for half a month later. Because it was absolutely secret, apart from the great saints and saint kings who were going there, no one else knew. Those who could accompany them were the elite of the elite, who are members of the Righteous Path Alliance selected from various great sacred lands with extremely high loyalty. These people were preparing, practicing Yi Zhao's techniques, combined attack techniques, and formations. In addition, saints skilled in concealment and evasion techniques were going to the Yin-Yang sect to gather information. Furthermore, the Yin-Yang sect spies were also activated, thoroughly investigating the Yin-Yang sect's formations and the placement of its powerful figures. Although the Yin-Yang sect was not weak, it wasn't as extravagant as the Heavenly Demon sect, with 3 quasi-emperors, over 20 great saints, and several saints. I wonder why Brother Yi's going there. Half a month later, the Crown Prince of Taijuan sat upright in the stone pavilion, watching over 100 sparrows flying out of Bajou, shaking his head and sighing softly. Those sparrows were, of course, the painted skin concealment technique, a secret technique that, even when employed by a great saint, possessed an extremely powerful ability to conceal their whereabouts. His saint-level cultivation, in peaceful times, would allow him to act without fear, but now, during wartime, the risks are too high. If he dies at the Yin-Yang sect, it would be a disaster for our Righteous Path Alliance. The Crown Prince of the Sun and Moon Palace also didn't understand. This matter was confidential, yet those of their rank, as Crown Princes, had the authority to know it due to their special status. At first, hearing the news, they were greatly shocked. It wasn't just that Yi Zhao was considered the hope of the Righteous Path. His death would inevitably lead to a large number of disciples considering the consequences and joining the demonic path. It's a pity our cultivation isn't sufficient, otherwise, we could have helped. Even the strongest divine body of the Heavenly Master Holy Land was helpless and somewhat dejected. They had originally thought that with the restoration of the current era, they had a chance to become great emperors, but reality was increasingly deviating from their expectations. The great war between the righteous and demonic paths had cost them their time as imperial princes, not to mention raising the banner of the righteous path to resist the demonic path. The only thing we can do is to quickly become stronger. The Taijuan Emperor's son clenched his fists, took a deep breath, and said resolutely. At the same time, he prayed that nothing would happen to Yi Zhao. Several days later, Angzhou, a land of lush green mountains and clear blue waters, is surrounded by mountain ranges and is filled with pavilions and towers, exuding an air of grandeur. Since the restoration of the ancient era, the Yin-Yang sect's power has increased significantly. Various powerful figures, including quasi-emperors, have emerged. Simultaneously, conflicts and disputes have erupted. For example, a certain ancient-era saint, coveting a certain elder's young wife, abducted her that very night, causing the elder to weep bitterly and gnash his teeth in hatred. Even more shocking was the case of an ancient-era great saint who, right in front of the Yin-Yang sect's sect leader, slept with his partner. A case of a pear blossom overshadowing a begonia. The battle was so intense that the Yin-Yang sect's sect leader bled from his 7 orifices and died a sudden, unnatural death while cultivating demonic techniques. There were also perverse acts like setting off firecrackers, burning candles, and tying up people, all familiar sights. Within the Yin-Yang sect, the old faction absolutely suppressed the new faction, and the new faction's saint-level figures ignored this, directly colluding with the old faction in their wicked deeds. The ruthlessness of the demonic path has been incredibly evident in recent years. Such things are all too common. 10 years have passed, and with the birth of countless children, it's even difficult to distinguish who's the real father. And since the Yin-Yang Emperor's son was brought to the underworld city by Yi Zhao as a male concubine, without the restraint of a great emperor's son, the old faction of the Yin-Yang sect has become even more unrestrained. At this moment, inside a stone palace, a beautiful woman with a captivating aura looked at the young man before her, her expression indifferent. Long Ocean, please don't contact me again in the future. I fear that the great sage Zia Yuan will misunderstand. The alluring woman said calmly. Li Hongju, for all these years I've devoted myself to you, giving you every resource and treasure imaginable, and now you treat me like this. What's so great about the great sage Zia Yuan? In time, I will surely surpass him. Besides, he's old. Can he satisfy you? Long Ingao Tia, his eyes bloodshot, roared, his breath trembling with cold. After the Nine-La Phoenix Monument Grand Feast, knowing he couldn't catch up with the righteous sex, he became disheartened and returned to the Yin-Yang sect to befriend his newly joined female disciple, Li Hongju. She comforted his shattered spirit, and he was deeply moved, so they became Dao companions. He gave her all sorts of rare treasures. Then the ancient monster revived, and this woman conspired with the Yin-Yang Great Emperor's general, Xie Yuan Great Saint. He only truly saw her true colors a few days ago. 10 years as Dao companions, and 9 years of severance pay. He felt like a mere fly. He was unwilling. However, as a follower of the Yin-Yang Saint's son, he was quite decisive, and after 9 years, he endured it. Currently, this woman wouldn't even let him wear a green hat, wanting to kick him out, wholeheartedly throwing herself into the embrace of the great sage Xie Yuan. You're just Zhangbar as follower. You can't give me happiness. Li Hongju said indifferently, disdainfully, following the great sage Xie Yuan. Although I'll be a bit older, I'll have a brighter future and a more promising one. As for you, although you're tall enough in some aspects, what good is being tall? After saying that, she lightly glided away, running towards her better life. Ah, I told you before, this woman isn't very reliable. All 18 of her techniques were taught by the great sage Xie Yuan. Zhang Bar, the saint of the Yin-Yang sect, came from the front room and patted Long Eotian on the shoulder. My reverse scale, Bar? Ah! Long Eotian roared in anger, weeping profusely. In an instant, Long Eotian ferociously said, I want to kill the great sage Xie Yuan. I want to castrate him. Brother, I've been waiting for you to say that. Zhang Bar's spirit was shaken, and he also said hatefully, my more than 20 concubines were all divided up by those old-school saints and great sages. The hatred of having my wife stolen is irreconcilable. That was a starless night. His favoritism, the ancient prodigy Akong. Finally, he witnessed his other 20-odd concubines fighting against those saints. He was struck by lightning and swore revenge. But after so many years of striving, seeing those enemies almost dying of old age, he had only just reached the peak of the death-slaying realm. In the short term, personal revenge was impossible. He could only find another shortcut. But how can we take revenge? We're too weak, Bar. What do you say we do? Long Eotian sat dejectedly on the ground. As the saying goes, seeking wealth and glory in danger. A few years ago, I went out to visit prostitutes and befriended Wangquan Fugui from the Taijuan Holy Land. There's a path over there. I don't know if you dare to take it. The risks are a bit high, but there's a head start. Zhang Bao lowered his voice. Wangquan Fugui, that unparalleled genius who's emerged from the Taijuan Holy Land in recent years? Long Eotian's expression changed, filled with disbelief. Zhang Bao hated the Taijuan Holy Land the most. How could he be associated with them? 10 years ago, the Yin-Yang sect and the Taijuan Holy Land competed for disciples. Wangquan Fugui and his brother Wang Fugui joined the Taijuan Holy Land, and since then they've risen to prominence. Now they're the leading figures among the younger generation, and even Yi Xiaoyao's top admirer. Inheriting the path of Yi Xiaoyao, a blend of righteousness and evil. Wangquan, the wealthy and powerful, learned gambling from a group of old devils in the Taijuan Holy Land, learned to frequent prostitutes from Mo Sindao, and learned to eat beasts alive from his senior brother. From an arrogant and pure young boy to someone who had mastered all 5 poisons, it only took 10 years. That's right, it's him. The only thing between me and Taijuan is a matter of differing viewpoints. There's no real enmity. Zhang Ba chuckled. Half a month ago, I learned from Wangquan that Taijuan wants to send people to infiltrate the Yin-Yang sect to assassinate them. This is our opportunity. Let the righteous sects kill those beasts of Xie Yuan. In fact, ever since the Phoenix clan's grand banquet, the scales in his heart had crumbled. The restoration of the old sect was too cruel and ruthless, absolutely not a safe place. Later, when he encountered Wangquan, he didn't kill him, but he already had the intention of surrendering to the Taijuan Holy Land. Furthermore, a Tran fell in love with a Kuang, and his concubine was taken. Years passed, and he soon became a spy for Tai Haiyan. Now the time has come. Zhang Bani, as a saintly son, already held a high position, especially after Yi Xiaoyao threw the Yin-Yang emperor's son into the underworld city, leaving almost all the younger generation dead. His status rose even higher, and he knew the Yin-Yang sect's mountain protection formation, its core, and its inner workings like the back of his hand. Sending someone in wouldn't be difficult. The challenge lay in escaping the sect's control, as those great saints and quasi-emperors were constantly monitoring the situation. After all, it was a time of war, and the demonic Dao was extremely vigilant. Bani, the Taijuan Holy Land sent people here. Who are they trying to assassinate? If it's just a few saints, I'm afraid they'll come but never return. In a secluded, densely forested area of the Yin-Yang sect, Long Atia, concealing his aura, cautiously inquired. As a member of the Yin-Yang sect, he was all too familiar with the inner workings of this lineage. Not to mention the 3 quasi-emperors, merely leaving behind the imperial formation is enough to kill a quasi-emperor. Even if the Taijuan heavenly mechanism ancestor came, it would be difficult for him to survive. The one with the audacity to enter the Yin-Yang sect's headquarters to assassinate someone is probably the eternal life ancestor, Zhang Bar said. The strongest quasi-emperor now is undoubtedly the Taijuan eternal life ancestor. If he were to cause chaos in the Yin-Yang sect, killing a few great saints and dealing with a quasi-emperor, the Yin-Yang sect would suffer heavy losses. And it would also give the Righteous Path Alliance a chance to breathe. This is the limit of his imagination. As for openly attacking and destroying the Yin-Yang sect, he wouldn't even dare to think about it. He knows all too well how terrifying the Yin-Yang sect's inner workings truly are. After all that, we'll join the Taijuan Holy Land, cultivate Yi Xiaoyao's techniques, and surpass Yi Xiaoyao. Zhang Bani's heart was resolute. He possessed secret techniques, and his cultivation speed was no less than that of the 10 great divine bodies. Yi Xiaoyao was a saint, and he was only one step away from becoming a saint. He believed that under all circumstances, he would definitely surpass him. He only lacked Yi Xiaoyao's method, that method that increased cultivation speed. Yi Xiaoyao, next time we meet, I will definitely compete with you. Zhang Bani looked deeply at Long Yatia, his heart becoming even more determined. Of course, he didn't think about winning. That invincible, abnormal realm was simply not that of an ordinary person. He only wanted to prove that he hadn't fallen too far behind. Fall. At this moment, a sparrow flew over and landed in front of Zhang Bani, facing him through the formation. Heavenly King, Earth Tiger. The sparrow spoke in human language, looking around. The pagoda suppresses the river demon. Zhang Bani immediately responded in a low voice. Old Zhang. Brother. Sparrow and Zhang Bani were both overjoyed, almost embracing each other. This sparrow was none other than Zhang Bani's new confidant, Wang Quan, the wealthy and powerful one. Quick, open the door. Old Zhang, I have some elders behind me. I'll take you on a show and make you fly. Sparrow said stealthily, like a ghost entering a village. Please come this way. Zhang Bani immediately agreed, taking out a formation plate, activating it a few times, and the formation's light screen cracked open, revealing a human-shaped gap. This formation eye was something he had searched for many years. Once open, it would be difficult for those who possessed the formation to detect it. He was very excited, finally welcoming the Taijuan assassins. In his opinion, there should be 5 or 6 people. Any more and he couldn't guarantee he wouldn't be discovered. It's been many days, Brother Gui, you're even more imposing and awe-inspiring. Sparrow entered the light screen, transforming his form, revealing a young man in a golden silk robe radiating a heroic and imposing aura. Seeing this, Zhang Bani couldn't help but praise loudly. The imposing aura is behind you. Please make way. Wang Quan, with his arrogant and wealthy demeanor, pointed behind him, then gestured for Zhang Bani to move aside. Then, a sparrow entered. 2, 3. In an instant, over 100 sparrows appeared inside the Yin-Yang sect. Holy cow, is this an assassination squad? Long Aotian's eyes widened in astonishment. He thought it would be good if a few Taijuan sparrows arrived, but how could so many suddenly appear? Over 100. This, Brother Gui, don't trick me, even a blind person could spot so many. Zhang Bani's lips trembled. This number was too exaggerated. Haha, Zhang Bani, long time no see. The sparrow-like creature transformed, revealing Yi Xiaoyao's form. His eyes narrowed, a smile playing on his lips as he looked at Zhang Bar. In the past, Zhang Bar seemed unremarkable. Compared to him, Yi Xiaoyao had killed countless geniuses. But now, having achieved sainthood and perfected his chaos body, his gaze was incredibly sharp, capable of seeing things ordinary people couldn't. This Zhangbar was undoubtedly a heroic figure in the future. Yi Xiao. Long Aoshin's expression changed drastically, filled with disbelief. Zhangbar also showed shock, his heart pounding. Yi Xiao's current status was unparalleled. Every move he made was closely watched by the entire demonic sect. How did he get here? Doesn't this guy fear death? Or have the high-ranking members of the Righteous Path Alliance become idiots? Zhang Bani's expression was uncertain. Yi Ziya's sudden arrival, if discovered by the three quasi-emperors in the sect, would surely result in his death at any cost. The other party was only a saint, let alone a quasi-emperor. Even a great saint could easily kill him. Now, Yi Ziya's life and death affected both the righteous and demonic paths. He couldn't understand what the people of the Righteous Path Alliance were thinking, sending Yi Ziya to his death. Everyone, drop your disguises. With so many of us, those old men from the Yin-Yang sect have probably already discovered us. Yi Ziya ignored Zhang Bani and looked at the others, waving his hand. The only thing he feared about the Yin-Yang sect was its formations, the Emperor formation hidden within them. While it was very troublesome outside, now that it was inside, he had the means to break the formation's core. This Yin-Yang sect is truly a place of foul air and debauchery, filled with vibrant colors and fragrant scents, just like a large brothel. The Eternal Life Ancestor revealed his figure, his clear eyes scanning in all directions. Upon seeing the scenes in the pavilions and buildings, he frowned, a hint of disgust in his expression. Beside him were the Killing Sword, the Burial Demon, and the Heavenly Punishment Quasi-Emperors. Behind them were over 50 great saints and over 70 saint kings. This enormous lineup completely stunned Zhangbar, his face pale, his whole body trembling. This isn't a massacre. It's clearly a war with the Yin-Yang sect, Zhangbar said in a trembling voice. This time, either the Yin-Yang sect would suffer heavy losses, or these people would suffer heavy losses. There was no other possibility. He might also be affected and die inside. Inside the main hall of the Yin-Yang sect, 3 quasi-emperors gathered, with several great saints below, all prominent figures who had served the Yin-Yang Great Emperor during the primordial era. The ancient demons of the Heavenly Demon sect have issued a death order. Our Yin-Yang sect will send 1 quasi-emperor, along with other quasi-emperors from other Taoist sects, to assassinate Yi Xiao. Who will go? A middle-aged man with a spirit-infused forehead said indifferently. This man was a former general under the Yin-Yang Great Emperor, now the highest leader of the Yin-Yang sect, the Spirit Quasi-Emperor. Unlike the Yin-Yang sect's dual cultivation path, he cultivated the path of spirit, mastering spatial laws, 5 elements laws, dark laws, lightning laws, and yin laws. His combat power among quasi-emperors was unparalleled. It seems the Heavenly Demon sect is truly impatient. Yi Xiaoyao's ability to create sacred techniques poses too great a threat. Even if it means sacrificing several quasi-emperors, they must assassinate him. Beside him, an old man with white hair chuckled coldly and said decisively, "Let me go." The path of righteous enlightenment and the assassination of Yi Xiaoyao is extremely risky, even for a quasi-emperor. But if successful, everything will be worth it. Moreover, he wants to try possessing Yi Xiaoyao's body to see if he can obtain the other party's chaos power. If successful, he can cross the chasm between a quasi-emperor and a great emperor, and achieve great emperor enlightenment. Brother Liao is old and weak, and lacks the skill of escape techniques. Let me go instead. Joining forces with the other 9 quasi-emperors of the demonic Tao, assassinating a young Saint Realm cultivator wouldn't be difficult. Another gray-haired old man's eyes flickered as he chuckled. This man, Donghe Quasi-Emperor, wasn't a figure from the ancient era, but a hero who reached the Quasi-Emperor level thousands of years ago. Before the restoration of the ancient era, he was the most powerful figure in the Yin-Yang sect. His word was law. Why would Donghe compete with me? You still have 1,000 years of lifespan left. Well, I haven't even reached 100. This is your only chance. The white-haired old man's eyes were cold and extremely unfriendly. He wouldn't dare assassinate him alone, but with 10 quasi-emperors attacking, Yi Xiaoyao's death was inevitable. If he could obtain the blessings from Yi Xiaoyao, achieve the great Emperor Tao, and transcend the Forbidden Zone, his lifespan would be limitless. In fact, it wasn't just him. All 13 demonic sects who advanced towards becoming quasi-emperors basically harbored the same thoughts. The eternal life ancestor was powerful, arguably invincible, but not to the point of being terrifying. As for the other great saints in the main hall, besides extreme admiration, they had no other intentions. They also understood that these quasi-emperors wanted to obtain the creations on Yi Xiaoyao's person, such as the chaotic energy, and study his heaven-defying comprehension. They also wanted to obtain his secrets, but unfortunately, great saints truly lack the qualifications to get involved. Brother Liao, let's go. No need to discuss this further. The quasi-emperor frowned, pondered for a moment, then decisively waved his hand. Very well, I hope that young man doesn't disappoint me. The white-haired old man heard this, a smile appearing on his face, his eyes revealing greed. Dong Ha quasi-emperor, upon encountering this, showed a hint of unwillingness in his eyes, wanting to argue back, but facing the cold gaze of the spirit quasi-emperor. He felt a slight tremor of fear and dared not speak further. Even among quasi-emperors, there were still disparities in combat power. The terrifying power of the spirit quasi-emperor was something he deeply understood. We are closest to Taijuan to avoid the revenge of the eternal life ancestor. After the Liao people leave, immediately activate the Great Emperor formation. The spirit quasi-emperor ordered. Yi Xiaoyao was not yet fully mature, so his own threat was minimal. However, he was very wary of the Yi family's second master, who had achieved enlightenment through the Kangyuan realm formation and didn't want to be killed. Especially now that the Yin-Yang sect and the Gentle Fragrance sect had cut off contact. Without this powerful backer, they could only rely on the immortal tomb behind the Heavenly Demon sect. The spirit quasi-emperor's eyes suddenly narrowed, and he abruptly stood up, stomping out of the main hall. The white-haired old man and the Donghe quasi-emperor also frowned and followed them out. Behind them, several great saints showed surprise and hurriedly chased after them. Boom! As soon as they left the main hall, they saw a giant hand descending from the sky, smashing a large mountain into fine powder. The pavilions and buildings on it, including the disciples, elders, and other cultivators inside, didn't even have time to scream before they were almost completely wiped out. In an instant, over 1,000 were killed or wounded. The eternal life ancestor. How audacious, daring to come alone, what? Killing sword, heavenly punishment quasi-emperor. The spirit quasi-emperor immediately saw the figure of an old man in the sky, his face turning pale. Just as he was about to roar a few words, he suddenly saw several figures approaching from the distance, his expression changing drastically. This battle was incredibly powerful. The Righteous Path sect wants to make a move against our Yin-Yang sect. Do they really think we're easy to bully? This is outrageous. Donghe quasi-emperor roared, instantly understanding that they wanted to emulate the 13 demonic sects that destroyed Kunlun and Penglai, aiming to wipe out the Yin-Yang sect. Enemy attack, quickly assemble. Following the white-haired old man's shriek, the sound shook the 8 deserts. In an instant, the entire Yin-Yang sect trembled, and figures swarmed in from all directions, radiating murderous intent. Like a locust swarm, there were about 150,000 of them. Among them were saints, saint kings, and great saints. As expected of the #1 demonic sect, the Yin-Yang sect, honored with the title of Heavenly Realm, has so many people, and even more young, untrained models. Yi Xiaoyao clasped his hands behind his back, looking around in all directions, and couldn't help but admire. In the past 10 years, Taijuan disciples had killed many Yin-Yang sect disciples, and even powerful figures and saints had frequently intervened. Yet, after 10 years, the Yin-Yang sect still had so many disciples. This showed just how powerful the Yin-Yang sect truly was. Yi Xiaoyao, you're quite bold, daring to leave the Righteous Path Alliance. Do you really think no one can kill you? A voice rang out from the crowd. The ancestor of the Joyful Union sect's face was ferocious, glaring intensely at Yi Xiaoyao, his eyes filled with hatred. Among the demonic sects, besides the Heavenly Demon sect's leader, no one hated Yi Xiaoyao more than him. The hatred had been suppressed for too long. What? He is Yi Xiaoyao, ancestor of the Ghost Path? It's him, that bastard who threw my elder brother into the underworld city. You beast, I can't forget it to this day. His disciples subjected my clone to a gruesome scene of being torn apart by 1,000 blades, damn it. The entire Yin-Yang sect erupted in commotion. Thousands upon thousands of men, women, and children, young and old, upon hearing Yi Xiaoyao's name, their eyes turned bloodshot, their killing intent surging like a vast ocean. In 10 years, 99% of the disciples of the Taishuan Holy Land had cultivated Yi Xiaoyao's techniques, and these Yin-Yang sect disciples had suffered the most brutal torture. Therefore, their hatred for the creator of this monstrous divine ability was bone deep. You are Yi Xiaoyao, ancestor Yansheng. You're truly insane, even releasing your own grandson. The quasi-emperor stared at Yi Xiaoyao, suddenly letting out a cold laugh, his killing intent reaching its peak. Beside him, the white-haired old man and Donghe quasi-emperor's eyes were filled with terror and greed. They were already wondering how to capture Yi Xiaoyao and study his secrets. Now that the master himself had walked into their trap, all their efforts were saved. You should think about how to escape. These hundreds of thousands of people are useless, Yi Xiaoyao said indifferently, pointing to the disciples and elders below. As long as I can capture you, everything will be fine. The greed in the white-haired old man's eyes intensified, and he laughed wildly. His lifespan was nearing its end. As long as he could capture Yi Xiaoyao and seize the chaotic energy, what were the lives of the Yin-Yang sect disciples worth? Everything was worthwhile. Activate the formation, the white-haired old man shouted. As his voice fell, the grand formation covering the entire Yin-Yang sect activated, and a large area of pink mist surged up. But in the next second, it suddenly stopped and vanished into thin air. You destroyed 18 formation eyes. The white-haired old man's pupils narrowed slightly as he stared at Yi Xiaoyao, then intensely looked at the Yin-Yang sect's saint's son, Zhang Bar. Without a thorough understanding of the formation, it's impossible to find the eye of the formation. Isn't that right? Yi Xiaoyao shrugged. Good. That's truly unexpected. But this alone isn't enough to destroy my Yin-Yang sect. The quasi-emperor's anger turned into a cold laugh as he glared at Zhang Bar. He hated traitors the most. Boom! Space entanglement. He directly attacked the eternal life ancestor, countless spaces continuously overlapping, like a cage trapping the eternal life ancestor. The Tao of space is the most miraculous, similar to illusory space, layered like stacks of paper. Tearing open one layer reveals countless more, making it very difficult to break through. Capture Yi Xiaoyao for me. Following the quasi-emperor's command, 10 great saints charged towards Yi Xiaoyao, aiming to kill him. At the same time, more than 30 saint kings also attacked one after another, heading straight for Yi Xiaoyao. Yi Xiaoyao, today, you must die? The venerable Hewan ancestor roared venomously, charging forward first, his yin-yang laws merging to form a heaven-piercing blade, slashing towards Yi Xiaoyao's head. Oh, long time no see, your temper has grown. Yi Xiaoyao glared at the venerable Hewan ancestor, frowning. With his current cultivation, he could easily crush this once invincible old man. However, he was currently short of guinea pigs, and the yin-yang laws were quite valuable for research. Yi Xiaoyao, carrying a large sack, tore open a crack. This was the first function of the 9-leaved Phoenix tablet, evolving all things, containing space within, perfect for carrying people. Take it out! Yi Xiaoyao swung his hand, his grip on the rapidly growing sword instantly reaching 100 feet, shattering the yin-yang law blade with a flick of his wrist. Then, he seized the ancestor of harmony, and without a word, stuffed her directly into a large sack. Damn, this guy has gotten even stronger. Even the ancestor of the Joyful Union sect was put into a sack. Zhang Bar looked into the distance, witnessing this scene, his mind greatly shaken. No matter what, the ancestor of the Joyful Union sect was a saint king. Killing him was like crushing an ant, yet he was easily subdued by Yi Xiaoyao. This guy is clearly much stronger than he was at the Burial Emperor Mountain. His strength growth rate is astonishing. He's carrying a sack. What does he want to do? Sell some saints to the underworld city. Long Ocean saw Yi Xiaoyao carrying a sack, waiting for those saint kings and great saints of the yin-yang sect. He thought this guy wanted to engage in human trafficking again. How could that be? The old ghosts in the underworld city always prefer young, handsome men. These old geezers are like withered flowers and few butterflies. Their tastes are much more extreme. That's why they would be interested in them. The wealthy and powerful Wang Quan questioned Long Ocean's taste. Maybe those old devils prefer these mature women. No, familiar wives. That makes sense. Zhang Bao, Long Ocean, and the other two discussed amongst themselves, hiding in a corner on the border of the yin-yang sect, watching the high-level duel above. They didn't dare get involved at this level. Going up would be certain death. Meanwhile, in the battlefield, Yishaya's eyes gleamed with excitement as he watched a group of Saint Kings and Great Saints rushing towards him, impatiently striding forward. They were all his guinea pigs. He absolutely couldn't let them go. Let us handle this. The old Heavenly Master, the Sin Saint, and other righteous Great Saints emerged from behind Yishaya, their expressions solemn, immediately blocking his path and charging forward. With so many people surrounding him, Yishaya, with his saint cultivation, basically had no chance of survival, and they couldn't let anything happen to him. Boom! The old Heavenly Master struck first. As a great saint of the Heavenly Master Holy Land, he was most skilled in lightning magic. He unleashed several palm lightning bolts, forcing back the two great saints who had attacked Yishaya. Punishment. The Sin Saint opened his eyes, a dazzling beam of light shooting out like a powerful flashlight, piercing a bloody hole in the chest of one of the Yin-Yang sect great saints. The others also attacked one after another, engaging in a bloody battle with the Yin-Yang sect great saints. Boom! The mountain range where the Yin-Yang sect was located was directly leveled. Smoke and fire billowed. The ground was shattered, and countless 10,000-foot-long fissures appeared, with various kinds of light constantly flashing. This scene made Yishaya scratch his head. After all this time, his opponents had all been robbed. Well, I'll just reap the benefits. Yishaya shook his head, preparing to pick up heads at any moment. Sin Saint, get out of here! A leading great saint roared, desperately charging towards Yishaya, but was blocked by the Sin Saint, unable to break through the encirclement. Not only could they not kill Yishaya, they couldn't even touch a hair on his head. Not only him, but the other great saints were also furious. They could easily kill Yishaya, but were constantly blocked, unable to approach. This made them extremely unwilling. Finally, a top-tier Saint King broke through the layers of defenses and approached Yishaya. Ha ha ha. Yishaya, your life is mine. That Saint King laughed wildly, unleashing a heaven-shattering great emperor technique. A pink halo enveloped Yishaya. Wherever it passed, the void melted, incredibly astonishing. Holy cow! Awesome! It's the law of light. Bring it out! Yishaya exclaimed in shock, his movements like a flickering light bulb, constantly flashing, narrowly avoiding the pink circle of light, and approaching the Saint King. Without any unnecessary chatter, he directly placed a large stack over the Saint King's head. Immediately, he turned around and looked elsewhere. What? Time law! Yishaya saw a Saint King whose movements were slow, yet his speed was incredibly fast, able to move the sack in the hands of the Shangguan Great Saint with such skill and dexterity. That was the time law, the strongest first law. With the Saint King's cultivation, and having been at odds with the Great Saint for a long time, it was enough to prove its formidable power. Boom! Yishaya's eyes blazed with green light, approaching with lightning speed. The Saint King didn't even have time to react, only feeling the world go dark. And the next moment his entire body was swallowed into the sack. Even the Shangguan Great Saint beside him was stunned. Death law. Ice law. Take him out. With a bang, another Saint King was stuffed into a large sack. Yishaya constantly roamed the battlefield, like the wild landling king of the valley, occasionally poking his head out, seizing opportunities to capture people. The drawing style was quite bizarre and sinister. What kind of death path is this kid taking? I suspect he wants to cause trouble for those people. This person's wicked mind is even deeper than our demonic sects. The things he does must be extremely evil. In the distance, some Saint Kings of the Yin-Yang sect watched their fellow disciples disappear one after another, their eyelids twitching uncontrollably. Originally, they were still planning to massacre them. Right now, I don't have even a shred of thought for it. This name, given to him as a demonic and insane being, struck fear into the hearts of those who practiced the demonic Tao. Who knew what Yishaya intended to do after capturing someone? Moreover, Yishaya was far more terrifying than they imagined. To be able to silently abduct someone, his combat power must be at least that of a peak Saint King. To kill him, it would require a great saint to intervene. Yishaya, you're going too far. A dignified middle-aged man watched helplessly as his disciple and junior brother were abducted by Yishaya, his anger uncontrollable. He was the protector of the Yin-Yang Emperor's son, the Wuyan Great Saint. the #1 person below the quasi-emperor level in the yin-yang sect. His combat power was extremely formidable. Even the combined efforts of 2 great saints from the misty Holy Land were no match for him. At all costs, suppress and kill him, he roared, desperately trying to break free from the entanglement of the 2 misty great saints. Stealth technique. On the other side, the black-robed great saint, who was fighting against the Sin Saint, revealed blood-red eyes. He had withstood the Sin Saint's attack, his body shattered, his soul escaping and instantly vanishing. This guy is insane. He's risking serious injury just to escape the battle and assassinate Yi Xiaoyao. The old heavenly master's face changed drastically upon seeing this, and he roared, "Stop him. He absolutely cannot be allowed to approach Yi Xiaoyao." The other righteous great saints also changed their expressions, attempting to escape the battle and come to his rescue. That black-robed great saint was extremely powerful, close to the Wuyan great saint. Even with serious injuries, he could still kill a peak Saint King, let alone Yi Xiaoyao, who wasn't even a Saint King. However, the Yin-Yang sect great saints were also frantically trying to stop them, hindering their progress. "You want to die." The sinful saint became even more enraged, rushing forward to stop him. Too late. My stealth technique, imbued with the Tao of Space, surpasses anyone in speed and realm. The black-robed great saint appeared 10 meters in front of Yi Xiaoyao, glaring at the sinful saint and sneering. Suddenly, he extended his right hand, pointing 10 fingers at Yi Xiaoyao. Space annihilation. Die. A wine blade flashed towards Yi Xiaoyao, disappearing in an instant midair and reappearing in Yi Xiaoyao's stomach. This was the terrifying aspect of the Tao of Space. Utilizing space was incredibly difficult to defend against. Suppress. Yi Xiaoyao frowned, 3 laws within his body suppressing the wind blade, and a dense flow of chaotic energy enveloped the blade in his stomach. If he hadn't broken through to the Great Saint realm, this thing is a bit troublesome. But now, the chaotic energy has reached its peak, naturally suppressing all laws, and the wind blades pose no threat whatsoever. You have reached the Great Saint realm. The black-robed Great Saint's face suddenly stiffened. He couldn't see through Yi Xiaoyao's chaotic energy, but through the wind blades, he sensed a terrifying fluctuation within Yi Xiaoyao's body. 3 perfected laws? That's a great saint. That's impossible. How could you be a great saint? Even after thousands of years, witnessing all kinds of bloodshed and chaos, the black-robed great saint couldn't maintain his composure. He was terrified and kept retreating. He felt this world had gone mad. Yi Xiaoyao had only just entered the saint realm a few months ago, and now he's a great saint. It was too shocking and terrifying. A great saint. Following the black-robed great saint's exclamation, the entire battlefield fell silent for a moment, and countless incredulous gazes shot towards Yi Xiaoyao. Then came the suspicion that the black-robed great saint had no brains. Boom! Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Yi Xiaoyao brazenly attacked. His eyes shone brightly like 2 suns, and in his hand, he wielded the chaos light, instantly activating the black-robed great saint's soul and body. Ah! The black-robed great saint let out a miserable scream, terrified to discover that his soul, even his mastery of spatial laws, was being suppressed. It was a power surpassing all other beings, a chaotic force. Bang! Spatial laws, mine. Yi Xiaoyao stretched out his hand, grabbed the remnant soul, and stuffed it into a large sack, his eyes burning with intensity. From beginning to end, he didn't expend any effort. Firstly, his strength was beyond words. Chaos naturally suppressed all laws. Secondly, the black-robed great saint had previously been severely wounded by the Sin Saint, making him no match for Yi Xiaoyao. Truly a great saint. Countless yin-yang sect powerhouses from all directions were completely shaken by this scene. The power unleashed was completely on par with a great saint who possessed 6 laws. The group of yin-yang sect saint kings who had originally surrounded him were terrified, their hearts nearly bursting, and they desperately fled. It was ridiculous that they had previously wanted to kill him. He was a great saint. Who could kill him? If those saint kings went up there, they'd probably only end up being put into a big sack. What exactly has Yi Xiaoyao gone through in these past few months? How did his cultivation increase so quickly? In a corner of the yin-yang sect, Zhang Bao's eyes widened in shock and disbelief. He had previously hoped to surpass Yi Xiaoyao, but now it seemed impossible. He had been left far behind by Yi Xiaoyao, let alone seeing his back. He couldn't even see his rear end. The difference between people is much greater than the difference between a person and a pig. Long Yuxian looked at Zhang Bao, then at Yi Xiaoyao, muttering, completely questioning his own existence. He couldn't understand how Yi Xiaoyao could reach the Great Saint realm in just a few months. This completely defies common sense. Only the wealthy and powerful Wang Quan, his face filled with adoration, swore to follow in Yi Xiaoyao's footsteps and rise like a kite in the wind. That day, seeing Grandmother Yi holding a conference, his steps were frivolous, his eyes deeply sunken. He must have used dual cultivation techniques to achieve such success. Wang Quan's eyes blazed with fiery determination. He resolved to return and try his best to sleep with prostitutes. Even if it meant wearing down his skin, he would grit his teeth and persevere. There was no problem that couldn't be solved by sleeping with prostitutes. If there was, it was not sleeping with enough or fast enough. Legend says Mosen Dao of the Guisu Holy Land slept with prostitutes until he reached the half-saint level. If this person doesn't die, our demonic Dao will be annihilated. The highest leader of the Yin-Yang sect, a quasi-emperor, his eyes almost bursting with rage, his heart churning with overwhelming emotion, and his killing intent reaching its peak. Yi Xiaoyao's growth rate was too terrifying. If he didn't die, no matter how great the demonic Dao's advantage, it would be destroyed. The white-haired old man, Dong Ha Quasi-Emperor, was also shaken to his core by Yi Xiaoyao's power, feeling an urge to flee. This was a monster. Even a quasi-emperor would be terrified. What exactly did this guy do? This shouldn't be happening. Back then, it took me a full 3,000 years to break through from saint to great saint. This guy did it in 3 months. The sinful saint's head was full of question marks, wondering if he was dreaming. Or had he already ascended to heaven? Was all this just post-death delusion? Ha ha ha. Good boy. Only the eternal life ancestor laughed heartily, his eyes filled with boundless joy and surprise. He had some understanding of Yi Xiaoyao's progress. It was most likely due to absorbing Lin Yaoju's yin essence. He had initially speculated that he could reach the peak of the Saint King realm, which was the limit, but he didn't expect it to be even more exaggerated than he imagined. Crack! Yi Xiaoyao, clad in black robes, moved about on the battlefield, his black hair flowing freely. With a single punch, he shattered the physical body of a great saint, tossing their soul into a large sack. Then, his figure vanished. His combat power was unparalleled, and he possessed countless techniques. Dealing with great saints was not difficult for him. No matter what, he must die today. The Quasi-Emperor roared, taking out a token and throwing it into the void. He had completely gone mad, unleashing all the power of the Yin-Yang sect. Boom! In an instant, the entire Yin-Yang sect trembled. The deepest part of the sect, capable of suppressing quasi-emperors, opened its imperial formation, sending beams of light hurtling towards the eternal life ancestor and the heavenly punishment quasi-emperor. At the same time, a figure in a white robe, a handsome middle-aged man, appeared in the void. It was merely a fleeting image, yet it suppressed the entire heaven and earth, causing tremors. It was the remnant consciousness of the Yin-Yang Great Emperor. The remnant consciousness's eyes were ruthless, and with one hand it pressed down towards Yi Xiaoyao, causing the void to collapse. Endless laws were unable to withstand it. Several great saints of the Yin-Yang sect were affected and wiped out. Among them were even some righteous saint kings, who, caught off guard, met a tragic end. The Yin-Yang sect's strongest inner strength has finally emerged. The Yin-Yang Great Emperor himself set up the imperial formation back then, and with his remnant consciousness, these two combined are more than enough to stop 10 quasi-emperors. The heavenly punishment quasi-emperor's pupils narrowed, his face filled with apprehension. With such inner strength, 1 or 2 sacred lands alone couldn't possibly destroy the Yin-Yang sect. Fortunately, they had prepared in advance. You guys block the spirit, Dong Ha and the other 3. I'll handle this imperial formation. As for this remnant thought, it's just a wisp of remnant thought. The eternal life ancestor's eyes were cold, his domineering gaze unparalleled. He crushed the remnant thought, reaching towards Yi Xiaoyao's giant hand with a single punch. While the countless beams of light were also blocked by the overwhelming number of believers. Do you think my Yin-Yang sect only has these? The spirit quasi-emperor's eyes were malevolent as he looked around at the 150,000 disciples, suddenly shouting, Sacrifice the lives of the disciples. Summon the divine formation. Invite dark God. A shower of light rained down, and countless Yin-Yang sect disciples began to scream in agony. No, no, Spirit Quasi-Emperor. Countless disciples shrieked with resentment. From the true profound to the saint realm, more than half of the disciples had white hair, men and women, young and old, all showing signs of infinite aging. Each ray of life force from his body converged into a vast, pure white ocean. I've waited so many years, and finally, this opportunity has arrived, had he? Following a sinister, eerie laugh, a terrifying aura spread from within, and then a colossal black hand, tens of thousands of feet long, slowly emerged from the sea. This is the aura of a forbidden zone, the first of the 8 great forbidden zones, the immortal prison. The heavenly punishment Quasi-Emperor's expression suddenly changed, disbelief etched on his face. The immortal prison had 18 layers in total, containing the most difficult-to-escape divine beings. Forbidden zones like the Gentle Fragrance, Immortal Tomb, Hero's Tomb, and Underworld City at least had some information and communication links in the outside world. But the immortal prison had virtually no information about it in the outside world. He never imagined that the Yin-Yang sect could communicate with the immortal prison and summon a divine being. As it appears, all of these people are going to die. Summon the source of these Yin-Yang sect disciples, kill all these tens of thousands of disciples, and stop him. The eternal life ancestor's face was grim as he coldly shouted. That black giant hand's aura was too powerful. Even without knowing its origin, it was definitely not weaker than a great emperor. Kill tens of thousands of disciples. How many can you kill in a short time? The Quasi-Emperor laughed ferociously. These disciples were no ordinary people. Many of them were saints. Relying on saint kings and great saints, killing a few hundred was easy. Tens of thousands, how could that be? Gentlemen, Ishaya saw this. His expression changed, and he calmly said, join forces with the Fish Palace. His Fish Palace's healing technique was very effective in mass killing. Besides, he was too lazy to catch the guinea pigs one by one. So he cast down his fishing net and directly collected a large area into his large sack. Okay. The righteous paths, more than 100 saintly kings and great sages responded together. Then they pulled out fishing nets and cast them over a vast area towards the tens of thousands of disciples on the other side. The nets crackled with various flashes of lightning as they returned. The group looked very much like diligent fishermen catching fish in the river. What is this? The Quasi-Emperor's spirit was filled with uncertainty and suspicion. He could see that this was a type of divine ability, but he had never seen anything like it before. Only a few people from the Yin-Yang sect, of humble origins, had seen similar scenes in the river near the village entrance. Whoosh! Whoosh! Those Yin-Yang sect cultivators, struggling against their life force being frantically devoured, dared not be distracted by resisting the fishing net. They were like a bunch of stupid fish, caught in the net. Boom! Boom! A series of agonizing screams echoed incessantly. Every cultivator who fell into the net and was pulled out was instantly electrocuted to death. Some bodies turned to ashes, others stiffened, their appearance utterly tragic. Add more power. The holy sin roared, once again casting down the fishing net, covering an area of 1,000 feet, engulfing thousands of disciples in one go. Then, suddenly pulling it taut, a barrage of lightning bolts struck, and another pile of Yin-Yang sect disciples died. Among them were even several Saint Realm powerhouses who tried to escape, but their divine abilities were top-tier heavenly gang techniques, and coupled with the fact that they were great saints, they were completely unable to escape, only able to watch helplessly as they approached death. In an instant, tens of thousands of Yin-Yang sect disciples perished. What kind of devil is this? Why is he casting a net again? Didn't they say the Righteous Path Alliance was skilled at fishing? Now they can't even catch fish, and they're directly using the electric fish net. It must be Yi Zhangya's technique again. He's a real beast. A beast. In the distance, many Yin-Yang sect disciples were cursing loudly, utterly terrified. They didn't even care about their life force being devoured, fleeing in all directions, afraid of being caught in the fishing nets. This scene was like frightened fish in a river, scattering in all directions. Meanwhile, the great saints of the Righteous Path Alliance were like fishermen, each scrambling to throw their nets in all directions. Brutal, too brutal. Yi Xiao couldn't bear to watch, immediately stepping forward, pulling out a large sack and stuffing the dying, electrocuted saints into it. Although these guys' cultivation of laws was mediocre, Yi Xiao, adhering to the principle that even mosquito meat is meat, put them all into the sack. You dare! Seeing this, the quasi-emperor's face contorted with rage, his eyes blazing red, and he roared at the great saints of the Righteous Path Alliance. More than half of the Yin-Yang sect disciples were sacrificial offerings to the dark gods. If there is no sacrifice, how can the dark god escape from the immortal prison? He cannot escape. Given the current strength of the Yin-Yang sect, essentially, they couldn't stop the Righteous Path Alliance's attack. Without any shame, the remaining great saints, spare no expense, stop them. Quickly! The quasi-emperor roared angrily at the shameless one. He wanted to personally take action, but was firmly restrained by the heavenly punishment quasi-emperor. Yes, the faceless great saint was also furious. His large hand grabbing, a black spear materialized, and with a loud bang, it pierced through the void, directly heading towards Yi Xiao. Their number of great saints was insufficient. They couldn't stop the sinful saint's large-scale attack, so they could only attack Yi Xiao. As long as this person died, the Righteous Path Alliance would instantly fall into chaos, and fighting would be impossible. Kill! Kill! The remaining great saints and saint kings also went mad, charging towards Yi Xiao without regard for their lives, even if they were attacked by the old heavenly master and others, or suffered serious injuries. They still wanted to rush forward, trying to make me a soft persimmon. Yi Xiao couldn't help but sneer at this scene. He unleashed a punch, blood surging, employing the blood god fist, directly engaging in a bloody battle with the 7 great saints. Over the years, his divine ability had long since been upgraded to the heavenly gang level, its power absolutely formidable. With every movement, it could destroy the laws of nature. Boom! One of the great saints' bodies was blown apart by a single punch, blood staining the sky, his soul swallowed by a large sack. Crack! A chaotic swordlight, like a world-shattering thunderbolt, cleaved another great saint in two, his body collapsing, his soul severely wounded. Imperial technique. The aura of the 9 heavens. Yi Xiao ward, tens of thousands of bone wings sprouting from his entire body, resembling a giant hedgehog. His body spun rapidly, leaving a trail of blood wherever he went, accompanied by earth-shattering screams. 2 great saints were severely wounded, their bodies covered in tens of thousands of bloodstains. Yi Xiao, fighting 7 opponents at once, resembled a demon god descended to earth. His eyes were bloodshot, and the battle was overwhelming. Too powerful. How can he be this strong? Even the Wuyan great saint had half his head ripped off. This is utterly humiliating. In the battlefield, the Righteous Path Alliance and the Yin-Yang sect were all shaken, their gazes towards Yi Xiao as if they were looking at a god. His power was simply unimaginable. Below the quasi-emperor level, it's unlikely anyone can kill him. If it were a time of peace, with no quasi-emperors around, Yi Xiao could reign supreme in the entire King Yuan realm, controlling the universe. This guy has truly matured. Competing with the previous generation, he had already become a formidable figure. Zhang Bunni was stunned, completely losing his composure. He could hardly ever catch up to such a figure in his lifetime. Fortunately, he had abandoned evil and followed righteousness. Otherwise, he would have been crushed to death by Yi Xiao's foot. Boom! 2 more great saints were torn to shreds by Yi Xiao, their souls stuffed into large sacks. Only Wuyan great saint remained, still fighting. It must be said, this one was very strong. In the primordial era, he had killed several of his peers and possessed the void law. When the law was unleashed, everything turned to nothingness, ceasing to exist. Unfortunately, he had encountered Yi Xiao. This law posed little threat to the power of chaos. Damn it! Damn it! Wuyan great saint was consumed with rage. Yi Xiao's chaos power was too bizarre. The void law, which he was so proud of, was severely suppressed, even capable of deflecting 1,000 pounds with a small force. This was the fundamental reason he could single-handedly defeat 7 opponents. Don't struggle anymore. I possess different powers than you. The 3,000 Great Tao originates from chaos, and the void law is no exception. In a sense, I am your mother, Yi Xiao said calmly. The 3,000 laws evolved from chaos, so saying that is perfectly plausible. Who has ever seen a son defeat his mother? The bloodline suppression is too powerful. I am your mother. My whole family is your mother. Your mother. Your mother. Damn. Hearing this, Wuyan Great Saint flew into a rage, completely breaking through the defenses. With a loud bang, he took a punch from Yi Xiaoyao, spitting out blood, and seized the opportunity to flee into the distance. From the beginning of the battle until now, he has been severely wounded. If the fight continues, he will only die. As long as the Green Mountains remain, there will be no shortage of firewood. Why are you still so impatient? Yi Xiaoyao frowned, flicking his sleeve, and a large sack flew out. Wrap him up for me. All right. The large sack revealed a black crow's head, cackling strangely, then expanded and grew larger like a black hole, instantly appearing in front of Wuyan Great Saint, swallowing him whole. Only Wuyan Great Saint's unwilling roar remained. Yi Xiaoyao, I am your mother. Why are you always cursing people? Yi Xiaoyao shook his head, collecting the sack. By this point, he had filled over 100 people, but it was still not enough. This scene was witnessed by the Righteous Path Alliance and the Yin-Yang sect, who couldn't help but feel terrified and utterly shocked. Yi Xiaoyao's power was unimaginable. Even many great saints working together were suppressed. Even the faceless great sage couldn't escape unscathed. No shame. The quasi-emperor and the white-haired old man were so enraged they felt like their eyes were about to burst, driven to madness by hatred. Crack! At this moment, within the cloud sea in the sky, the giant black hand from the immortal prison dug out from the corner, and a huge purple-blue head slowly emerged from within. It had 2 legs, a ferocious face, and its entire body exuded a terrifying aura. Around its neck, thick bronze chains tightly bounded downwards the immortal prison shackles. The chains of the great Tao. So it's those little brats of the righteous path, killing one group after another, and now they've grown up again. Stop me, can you? The green-faced, fanged skull emitted a harsh, jagged sound, sinister and chilling. So many people died, and it can still climb out. Dark God, which 18th level prison lord is it? The heavenly punishment quasi-emperor was startled, simply unable to believe it. The 18 layers of the immortal prison imprison 18 gods and demons. The further down one goes, the more terrifying their power becomes. This guy who crawled out of the immortal prison seems to have a bigger head than he imagined. Ha ha ha. Eternal life ancestor, your end has come. The originally despairing quasi-emperor laughed wildly, his eyes filled with excitement. The dark god of the 16th layer of the immortal prison, the earliest great emperor of the mythical era, after his lifespan ran out, committed suicide and entered the immortal prison, transforming into a god or demon, forging the dark god realm. No one knows his origins. He believed that as long as the dark god emerged from there, none of these Righteous Path Alliance members, including the Eternal Life Ancestor, would survive. Kill all the Yin-Yang sect disciples who sacrificed their lives. Absolutely do not let him get out. The Eternal Life Ancestor's face changed for the first time, and he shouted loudly. The Yin-Yang sect had too many trump cards, which surprised him. He knew far more about the immortal prison than an ordinary quasi-emperor. The dark gods, in the primordial era, had once joined forces with several other gods to suppress and kill the first-generation ancient emperor of the primordial race, the ancient god clan. The dark god realm had at least tens of billions of followers, their incense burning like a vast ocean, their combat power absolutely terrifying. At this level, their combat power was practically on par with great emperors, the highest-ranking gods almost like immortals. Grind bones to ashes. The faces of the sinful saints also turned grim. Their divine souls emerged from their bodies, transforming into furnaces, refining their flesh. Endless ashes flew towards the disciples who had sacrificed their lives. Where the ashes fell, from saints to true mystics, more than half of the disciples' bodies were engulfed in green flames. Burning fiercely, their screams shook the heavens, and they were instantly reduced to ashes. Looking down from above, it was as if snowflakes were falling from the sky. The scene was incredibly shocking. To grind bones into dust, what kind of technique is this? In the distance, Long Eoshin's mouth gaped open, speechless. This bizarre scene was truly terrifying. I'm afraid it's Yi Xiaoyao's doing, suppressing his own ashes to kill others. Zhang Bar exclaimed in awe, thinking how Yi Xiaoyao could create such a strange and bizarre divine ability. It was simply unimaginable. How did Yi Xiaoyao's brain even grow? Moreover, this destructive power was astonishing, even more terrifying than casting a fishing net. In just a blink of an eye, only 1 or 2 tens of thousands of Yin-Yang sect disciples remained. The remaining more than 100,000 disciples were almost all dead, and those above the saint level were also roughly scooped up into large sacks by Yi Xiaoyao like fish. Currently, Yi Xiaoyao has at least 200 saints in his hands, including more than 10 great saints. Yi Xiaoyao, it's you again. The spirit quasi-emperor's eyes were bloodshot, glaring intensely at Yi Xiaoyao, wishing he could devour him alive. Meanwhile, the giant with the green face and yellow fangs in the clouds was completely blocked. The sacrifice failed. Good, luckily we acted quickly, otherwise, if we had been a little slower, we would all have died here. The sinful saint wiped away cold sweat, still trembling with fear. Even the eternal life ancestor was so wary, one can imagine how powerful this guy, whom the spirit quasi-emperor called the dark quasi-emperor, truly was. It's over, everything is over. The white-haired old man, Donghe quasi-emperor, was filled with despair, looking at the ruins of the Yin-Yang sect. 99% of its high-ranking members were either killed or captured by Yi Xiaoyao, and 90% of its disciples were also killed or wounded. Even the imperial formation and the remnants of the Yin-Yang great emperor's consciousness couldn't withstand it. The Yin-Yang sect was completely finished. You want to die. The dark god was even more unwilling, his blood-red eyes glaring at the great saints of the righteous path, trying to break free. However, the chains bound him tightly. Lord of the immortal prison, the great era has arrived. Why won't you let me go? The dark god continuously struggled to break free from the chains of the great Tao binding his neck, turning back to face the endless mist behind him, angrily roaring. The forbidden zone for them was both a refuge from the desolation and a cage that trapped them. Without the permission of the Lord of the Forbidden Zone, it was difficult to pass through. I'm unwilling. Divine law, cicada shedding its skin. The dark god, with his ferocious eyes, suddenly decayed, his body seemingly tainted by death. In an instant, his enormous head rotted away, becoming like a decaying piece of wood. The chains of the Great Tao also broke free. And in that very instant, a stream of light shot out from the decaying head with astonishing speed, forcibly breaking free from the old body and appearing in the air. It was an 8 or 9-year-old boy, completely naked, with bluish-purple skin, blood-red eyes, withered hair, and 2 horns on his head. His entire being exuded an extremely ancient aura. On his body, lines like spiderwebs, like tattoos, spread across his entire form, making him look terrifying and ferocious, and like before, his aura was weakened, not as powerful as before. But he laughed, a wild, arrogant laugh. Such a great effort, and he's finally out. After laughing, the little boy with the golden hair moved his eyes, tilting his head strangely to look at the Righteous Path Alliance and the several spirit quasi-emperors. His gaze was like a knife. The great saints of the Righteous Path Alliance all felt a chill run down their spines and couldn't help but retreat. Even the Heavenly Punishment Quasi-Emperor was no exception, his eyelids twitching. Despite all precautions, this monster still managed to escape. How terrifying was this guy? Welcome, Dark God. The spirit Quasi-Emperor's spirit trembled violently, his eyes showing excitement, and he immediately stepped forward with a respectful demeanor. In front of this being, these Quasi-Emperors were nothing. The white-haired old man and Donghe Quasi-Emperor also stepped forward, not daring to underestimate him. What kind of ghost is this? A ghost fire youth. Yi Xiaoyao looked at the little boy's golden hair and the tattoos covering his back, his eyes showing an unusual expression. This Dark Age mythical deity is still not mainstream. Ding! You observed the Dark Age deity's Tao tattoo, and you have gained great insight. You have integrated over 10,000 divine abilities, using the true and false Tao contained in the 9-leaved Phoenix stele as the foundation, and have created an Emperor's technique. Ghost Back Tattoo. Ghost Back Tattoo. A great Emperor's technique. You tattoo on your body, inscribe divine beasts, conjure divine beasts, inscribe heaven and earth, conjure heaven and earth, evolving from false to true. The strength is determined by the inscribed item. Its power is limitless. You only need to transform into a tattoo master and inscribe 10,000 identical tattoos to enter the entry. Level. Ghost Back Tattoo. And from then on I am a member of society. Yishaya was stunned, inexplicably shocked. A tattoo on his body, and it's a great emperor's technique. The greatest creation of the great emperor's art. How powerful is this? The strength and weakness of a skill level are determined by what kind of writing it contains. This means, if I write 9 dragons pulling the coffin, will I be invincible? Yi Zhaoya's heart stirred, his heartbeat quickening. While he pondered this great emperor technique, on the other side, a small, purple-blue boy, resembling Yama himself, stood with his hands clasped behind his back, radiating a terrifying aura. He gazed at the 3 great quasi-emperors of the yin-yang sect with a strange look in his eyes. Hey, you're quite good, stronger than the great emperor who ate at temples back then. That guy tormented me for many years before he reluctantly agreed to open the immortal prison passage for me. Tell me, what reward should I give you? The purple-blue boy stared at the spirit quasi-emperor, his blood-red pupils even more profound. Invite the dark gods to take action and exterminate these people from the righteous path. The spirit quasi-emperor's spirit trembled, and he immediately spoke, his gaze ruthless as he looked around at the eternal life ancestor, the heavenly punishment quasi-emperor, and Yi Xiaogao and the others. He believed that with this power, he could kill all of these members of the Righteous Path Alliance. This guy! The heavenly punishment quasi-emperor of the misty holy land had a grim expression, and the eternal life ancestor frowned. The sinful saints were extremely nervous, not daring to act rashly. A vicious character emerged from the dark forbidden zone, having lived from the mythical era to the present day. No one knew how powerful he was, at the very least. Quasi-emperors were no match for him. In fact, gods and demons were equally dangerous. Only their paths were different. Good. The purple-blue child with 2 legs smiled, his smile gradually widening. His small mouth opened, splitting to his ears, then suddenly burst open, growing larger and larger until it expanded to 100 feet, and then his head also became many times larger. It was like a disproportionately large baby head. Splatter! The purple-blue child's mouth was like a black hole, swallowing the quasi-emperor in front of him in one gulp. Slurp, slurp. The purple-blue child closed his mouth, swallowed in large gulps, his jaw trembling, and a mournful, tragic sound of a quasi-emperor's spirit emanated from within. Tiny streams of fresh blood spilled from his small mouth. In an instant, the scream ceased, the purple-blue child's throat twitched, and he swallowed. The dignified #1 quasi-emperor of the yin-yang sect, without even a chance to resist, was directly devoured alive. Even in death, he probably wouldn't understand why the great help he had invited would turn against him. The entire yin-yang sect fell silent in an instant. This deity is insane. Yi Xiaoya was stunned, speechless. The quasi-emperor's spirit, yearning for the moon, paid a heavy price, painstakingly summoning this great Buddha. And yet, this great Buddha devoured him. This operation is too outrageous. Is this a teammate or an enemy? Yi Xiaoya's forehead was filled with question marks. Meanwhile, on the Righteous Path Alliance side, the sinful saint, the heavenly punishment quasi-emperor, and the old heavenly master were all stunned. This guy is too old, his flesh is a bit like firewood, and his teeth are a little numb. The purple-blue child smacked his lips, sticking out his little finger and poking inside his mouth. Dark God, what are you doing? We're the ones who let you out of the immortal prison. They're the ones stopping you. They are your enemies. The white-haired old man was stunned, his face contorted, and he roared. His whole body trembled, almost spitting blood on the spot. He had calculated everything, but he never anticipated that the summoned god would devour the quasi-emperor's spirit. This is the strongest fighting force of the yin-yang sect, the leader. The purple-blue little child tilted his small head, his blood-red eyes looking towards the eternal life ancestor, the heavenly punishment quasi-emperor, and others. Finally his gaze fell on Yi Xiaogao, a red light flashing. Truly naive, I've never seen such a naive great saint. Those strange divine abilities just now, were they your doing? He asked Yi Xiaoyao, his expression strange. He had lived through 4 eras, from the beginning of mythology to the ancient, the primordial, and the modern, and had never seen such a sinister thing. The speed of killing was incredibly fast, faster than cutting leaks. Yi Xiaoya didn't answer, his eyes narrowed, unable to see through this child. Mainly, this guy's mind seemed to be malfunctioning. He had a mental illness. It's him. It's him. quickly chase and kill him. The Donghe Quasi-Emperor immediately shouted, pointing at Yi Xiao, his eyes filled with hatred. This guy, with his divine power, almost wiped out all the disciples of the Yin-Yang sect, and his bag is full of Yin-Yang sect saints. He's truly the source of all evil. Are you teaching me how to do things? The purple-green child raised his eyebrows, suddenly opened his mouth wide, and swallowed Donghe Quasi-Emperor in one gulp, chewing an annoying gasp. Many disciples and saints remaining in the Yin-Yang sect gasped, their bodies convulsing and trembling. This dark god was terrifying. Quasi-Emperors had absolutely no power to resist him. But similarly, he was also a deranged fool. You didn't eat so many people from the righteous path, but you chose to eat Yin-Yang sect comrades? You! The white-haired old man's eyes turned crimson, his hair standing on end. They're all about to go completely insane with anger. You're not allowed to cry out for me, or I'll devour you. The purple-green child threatened the white-haired old man, baring his teeth and frowning incessantly. How can you be like a block of wood? Impossible to chew. I prefer something younger. He's young, eat him. Eat him. The white-haired old man said in a trembling voice, pointing at Yi Xiao. Ah! The purple-green child swallowed the white-haired old man in one gulp, chewing loudly, muttering indistinctly. I told you not to cry out, but you didn't listen. After devouring 3 Quasi-Emperors, he instantly grew from 8 or 9 years old to 11 or 12, his aura becoming even more terrifying, as if the entire world couldn't contain his true form. Everyone in the Righteous Path Alliance trembled at the sight. This great figure was absolutely a ruthless individual. The Yin-Yang sect Quasi-Emperor, using the money as his own lunch to compensate for his injuries and escape, basically didn't care whether these people had done him a favor or not. Who would he eat next? Are you friend or foe? Yi Xiao frowned. Friend or foe, it makes no difference to me. The purple-blue child stared at Yi Xiao, suddenly revealing a set of gleaming white teeth. You have the traces of the Lord of the Immortal Tomb, the divine sorcerer's divination. Those who are targeted by him have never had a good end. He looked at Yi Xiao strangely, as if looking at a toy. What do you mean? The heavenly punishment Quasi-Emperor asked coldly, completely unafraid. He had some understanding of the Immortal Tomb. It was the head of the 8 great forbidden zones, containing over 100 gods and demons, each a terrifying figure from the mythical era. Do you know how the group of people buried in the Immortal Tomb got there? The purple-blue little child chuckled sinisterly. Those gods and demons, they were all raised by the sorcerers, like raising a flock of sheep. You already have his aura on you, so you're probably one of his sheep. Wait until I fatten them up, then I'll slaughter them. The purple-blue little child said profoundly, then suddenly turned and walked away into the distance. He was very wary of the sorcerers and didn't want to provoke them, especially since he had already sensed the aura of that empress on Yi Xiao. If it weren't for that, he would have long since devoured Yi Xiao and everyone here in one gulp. In an instant, the dark god disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already 1,000,000 miles away, with a city beneath his feet. The God Realm's believers are insufficient. We need to replenish them. First, we'll kill 100 million and have a good meal. The little child in purple and blue stared down at the densely packed crowds in the city below, his eyes filled with greed. At this moment, the Yin-Yang sect had become a wasteland, its imperial formation destroyed, and the remnants of the Yin-Yang Great Emperor's consciousness vanished. 3 Quasi-Emperor-level powerhouses were devoured by the Dark God. The remaining disciples numbered less than 10,000. This once powerful, first-ranked Taoist sect, the Yin-Yang sect, was completely annihilated. If this outcome were to spread, the entire demonic Tao would likely be shaken. This Yin-Yang sect, before its destruction, even summoned a god demon. This is a big problem. The Eternal Life Ancestor sighed, gazing in the direction the Dark God had departed. He cultivated the divine diagram and understood these god demons very well. To live for so many years, they consumed the life force of their followers. The more people they killed, the more life force they devoured, and the longer they lived. This land was inevitably plagued by suffering and devastation. The righteous path is righteous precisely because, like the great Emperor Taizhuan and the first generation of heavenly masters, they willingly chose to pass away rather than slaughter hundreds of millions of living beings. This is just one god demon. If all 8 Forbidden Zones god demons were to emerge, the trouble would be immense. The heavenly punishment Quasi-Emperor shook his head. Therefore, our Righteous Path Alliance needs a great emperor to deal with the Forbidden Zones god demons. The sinful saint spoke, his heart filled with worrying. The Righteous Path, with all its holy lands and numerous quasi-emperors, over 20 of them, yet not a single one had attained the great emperor realm. This step was extremely difficult. Let's quickly resolve this place and then leave to avoid any unforeseen circumstances, the burial demon Quasi-Emperor said. He worried that the demonic path might react in time and come to surround and kill them. Meanwhile, Yi Xiao, carrying a large sack, wandered around like a scavenger, capturing those saints and putting them in his possession. As for the terrified, trembling low-level cultivators, he didn't even bother to look at them. Below the arena, those with sins were mostly dragged back to mining or into the refining and manufacturing production lines, working 12 hours a day, becoming the newer laborers. The innocent were squatting in prison, daily watching moving speeches inscribed on stone tablets, undergoing ideological re-education. These saints have no value for re-education. What do you want them for? The old heavenly master looked at Yi Xiaoyao's bulging sack, somewhat puzzled. The others were also full of incomprehension. In their opinion, those who could become saints were all low-level, ideologically enlightened, vengeful terrorists, and brainwashing was unlikely to succeed. In the future, the righteous and demonic forces will clash, and those who serve as cannon fodder are unlikely to succeed. Nothing is worthless. I'll dissect them for research, conduct human experiments, and observe their laws and principles. Yes, after I return, set up a laboratory for me. Yi Xiao, carrying a large sack, laughed heartily, his face radiating the satisfaction of a farmer after a boisterous harvest. He had captured a total of 236 saints. These individuals possessed various laws and principles. Through research, he could soon comprehend the other 5 laws and enter the quasi-emperor realm, and even achieve the great emperor realm. Countless people would flock to him like ducks, even going mad with the prospect. This goal wasn't far off. Dissect. The old heavenly master, hearing this, looked at the radiant Yi Xiao, his whole body trembling with fear, his eyes filled with astonishment. The others were also continuously amazed. As expected of you, your methods of torturing people are becoming increasingly sophisticated. If it weren't for his Yi family background and Miao Hong's lineage, they would even suspect Yi Xiao was a spy sent by the demonic sect. And very quickly, the Yin-Yang sect's treasure vault and creation land were completely emptied by the elders of the Righteous Path Alliance, who dug 3 feet into the ground. It's unknown whether Yi Xiaoya's magic damaged it, but it was like a bandit's looting spree. The most valuable item was the Yin-Yang Great Emperor's ultimate Dao Imperial weapon, the Yin-Yang Ring. Previously, it had been seized by a spirit quasi-emperor, and before it even had a chance to be activated, it was devoured by the Dark God, finally falling into the hands of the Eternal Life Ancestor, brutally suppressing its spirit. Heavenly Mandate Sacred Medicine. My heavens, this is a treasure medicine to heal injuries to the Great Dao, most suitable for a divination master suffering from a backlash. True Dragon Treasure Medicine, capable of comprehending the true dragon dharma from it. Unfathomable. Earth Abyss Flip, a top-tier sacred medicine. It's a pity there's no divine medicine. A group of Righteous Path Alliance saints were incredibly excited, eagerly stuffing the countless treasures and resources accumulated by the Yin-Yang sect over the years into their bags, and then mostly giving them to Yi Xiao. Yi Xiaoya's techniques played a crucial role in this campaign, protecting the lives of several people. Otherwise, even if they completely destroyed the Yin-Yang sect, the Righteous Path Alliance would have suffered a significant number of casualties. This earned them heartfelt respect. Moreover, Yi Xiao was now a great saint, far surpassing his former self. His combat power instilled fear even in the high-ranking members of the Righteous Path Alliance. Below the quasi-emperor level, those who could rival him could be counted on the fingers of one hand. He has completely reached the pinnacle of heaven and earth, relying solely on his strength. They immediately found common ground and resources for dialogue on the fundamental principles of the Tao. The old heavenly master sighed, still remembering the time of the competition in the sacred land. Yi Xiao was just a tender child of 8 or 9 years old, like a weak eaglet. Now that eaglet has grown up, capable of soaring high, even protecting an entire region, and competing with the most ancient generation. After the news of Yi Xiao becoming a great saint spreads, let alone the righteous path, even the demonic path will likely be stirred up by the most intense storm. After that, we must follow closely behind. Zhongbar and Long Ocean were also filled with awe and dared not harbor any thoughts of surpassing him. Soon, the Righteous Path Alliance finished gathering their supplies and, along with some prisoners from the Yin-Yang sect, quickly entered the wormhole and departed. Not long after they left, several figures emerged from the distance, moving like shifting stars, their speed unimaginable, descending one after another. Those figures, their demonic light surging, were clearly all quasi-emperors. The Yin-Yang sect, destroyed? Inside, a majestic old man gazed at the ruins of the Yin-Yang sect, his expression changing drastically. He was the Grand Palace Master of the Abyss Demon Palace, an invincible expert from ancient times, and moreover, the Abyss Demon Palace was closest to the Yin-Yang sect, so he knew it too well. He knew how powerful the Yin-Yang sect was. Such a great force, and it just disappeared. Just the Taijuan Holy Land couldn't possibly have done it, and the Righteous Path Alliance couldn't have intervened either. Their every move was under the watchful eyes of my demonic Tao Observatory. How exactly was the Yin-Yang sect destroyed? The others were the quasi-emperors of the Tai-Yin Demon Palace and the ghost-killing Holy Sect, along with a black-robed monk from the fallen Buddhist sect. In an era where gods and demons didn't appear and great emperors didn't emerge, these people were the strongest. Turn the world around and return to the day. The black-robed monk's eyes widened like diamond, his large hand sweeping in a circle. The dilapidated original Yin-Yang sect seemed to rewind time, a few scenes slowly appearing, like playing an old film. The fallen Buddha sect was founded in the early ancient times, the black-robed monk being the first founding patriarch of the fallen Buddha sect, possessing many secret techniques. And the technique he was using was the first of the 36 heavenly gang laws, seeing through the heavens and knowing past karma. To put it bluntly, it was a reenactment of history. Eternal life ancestor, heavenly punishment quasi-emperor. In the scene, several people suddenly saw many quasi-emperors and great saints from the Righteous Path Alliance, their expressions changing. What the hell is this? The black-robed monk saw the sinful saints casting nets, electrocuting a large number of Yin-Yang sect cultivators, witnessing the old heavenly master burning himself to death, scattering his ashes in all directions. The fallen Buddhist sect and the Righteous Path had very little connection and didn't understand much. The monk expressed his incomprehension, but he sensed that this divine power was very unusual. Yi Xiao, great saint. When several quasi-emperors saw a young man effortlessly defeating a saint king and a great saint, they were all stunned. The world is divided into yin and yang, and the Tao is divided into righteous and evil. Righteousness draws upon the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, strengthening the foundation and cultivating the essence. Evil steals the very essence of life and death, seeking immediate gain. Evil hinders cultivation, seeking immortality. Welcome, fellow Taoists. In the picture, Yi Xiao, clad in white, clearly displayed an invincible aura. His divine fists unleashed a torrent of blood, as if he were a reincarnated demon god. He successively suppressed 6 great saints, finally obliterating the first great saint of the Yin-Yang sect, capturing his soul. In just a few months, he's reached the great saint realm. This must be announced to the world, a warning to all demonic cultivators. Truly terrifying. How could he break through so quickly? The Grand Palace Master of the Abyss Demon Palace's face was clouded with uncertainty, deeply astonished. He had originally thought that the opponent would need at least several decades to fully mature. Within those decades, it was uncertain whether the Righteous Path Alliance would be annihilated. But now, having broken through to the Great Saint realm, this level of power could be considered invincible. Who could restrain him? The Heavenly Demon sect still wants to assassinate Yi Xiao? Simply ridiculous. Even great saints and quasi-emperors wouldn't be able to kill him without their full power. If they could, how could the Eternal Life Ancestor give the Heavenly Demon sect a chance? One of the quasi-emperors said coldly, if Yi Xiao were a saint, he could be killed instantly. But now, even a flick of a finger couldn't kill him. Suddenly, the black-robed monk's expression changed, staring in horror at a spot in the picture. There, a giant black hand stretched out from the mist, then collapsed, and a bluish-purple child emerged from it. This appearance, the dark god of the 16th layer of the immortal prison. The Yin-Yang sect actually summoned him? and devoured the spirit of a quasi-emperor. The black-robed monk gasped, his scalp tingling. The dark god, he had learned about him from a previous incomplete book. This was the most gluttonous ruler, the most terrifying god and demon of the time. He didn't care whether you were righteous or demonic. The dark god was still the source of the darkness that ended the primordial era. The dark god didn't lay a hand on Yi Xiaoyao, as if he was wary of something. What could it be? The Grand Palace Master of the Abyss Demon Palace was also shaken, as if he had discovered something filled with uncertainty. I can only think of one person, the Taijuan ancestor, Tianyuan, that peerless villain who once entered the dark forbidden zone. After so many years, he's still not dead. The black-robed monk's face grew even more grim. The mythical era, the primordial era, the ancient era, the modern era in heaven and earth. Only a great emperor could achieve such absolute supremacy, suppressing the peerless villains of the time. This is the only explanation for why the dark god didn't lay a hand on Yi Xiaoyao. When will the ancient demon attain the great emperor realm? Didn't he kill his last son? The 9 paths will unite, and he will attain the ruthless imperial throne. The Abyss Grand Palace Lord's face was grim. The demonic path hadn't openly invaded the righteous path alliance because they were waiting for the ancient demon to attain the emperor realm. Even if the Taijuan ancestor were still alive, they could still carry out a bloody purge. Soon, with the current restoration of the land and the complete laws, attaining the emperor realm will be much easier than before. It won't even take half a year. The black-robed monk, as the leader of the fallen Buddhist sect, understood a great deal. The ancient demon had long possessed the potential to attain the emperor realm. If the position of the ancient emperor hadn't been surpassed by someone else, he would have attained it long ago. Moreover, in this glorious era, the appearance of 2 or 3 great emperors is not uncommon. Then let's wait for him to achieve the great emperor realm and fight the righteous path alliance. The Abyss Grand Palace Lord's face darkened as he turned and left. The others also hurriedly left the place, fearing that the Taijuan group might suddenly jump out and kill them. A few days later, the news of the destruction of the Yin-Yang sect spread, causing a stir throughout the world. This top-tier demonic sect, established for 1,000,000 years, could be called the oldest, yet it was destroyed. The Righteous Path Alliance, which intervened, also completely suppressed some of the demonic sects, letting them know that the righteous path was not as weak as they imagined. The emergence of the dark gods further terrified the world, fearing that the most turbulent era was coming. And the news of Yi Xiaoyao's entry into the Great Saint realm, his brutal suppression, and his capture of 7 great saints caused a huge uproar throughout the Kangyuan realm, shaking the 10 desolate lands. Holy cow, how long have I been in seclusion? 1,000 years, or 2,000 years? The ancient race, the fire spirit young master, who had just emerged from his seclusion after being intimidated by the gentle fragrance of a set of pink skulls, was utterly shocked upon hearing this news. Before his seclusion, he harbored the ambition to catch up with Yi Xiaoyao, believing that if he seized a great opportunity, he might surpass him in the future. But upon emerging from seclusion, having only just reached the Tao's severing realm, he was arrogantly invincible and overconfident, only to be told that Yi Xiaoyao was a great saint. He glanced at the fiery red calendar on the stone house, which showed only 3 months had passed, and immediately became uncontrollably enraged, directly setting it ablaze. What? How dare you use illusion techniques against me? Disturbing my Tao heart, I don't believe in evil. My fate is in my own hands, not in the hands of heaven. Clearly, the fire spirit young master was in an abnormal state of mind. The ancient prince of the 9 Le Phoenix clan stood with his hands clasped behind his back on the peak of the divine tree, gazing at the swirling clouds and mist before him, lost in thought. Great sage, this guy is already an extremely important figure. Wow. Did he take the wrong medicine? How did he rise so fast? Prince Gu expressed his incomprehension, his emotions intense. He had only just entered the Saint realm. Prince Gu, you haven't visited your family these past few days. A soft, weak voice sounded from behind him. It was a beautiful woman, the ancient immortal clan's female prodigy, a friend of Prince Gu. I want to be alone. Prince Gu sighed softly. Yi Xiaoyao's achievement of great sage status was too much of a blow to him, making him question his existence. Who is alone? The ancient imperial clan's Emperor Prince Huang Jiushan stood in the main hall, looking at the somewhat neurotic Huang Shengzi pacing back and forth in front of him, shaking his head helplessly. Great sage, how is that possible? How is that possible? That's impossible. It must be fake, yes, they're all lying to me. Huang Shengzi paced back and forth, muttering under his breath, then burst into a maniacal laugh. Yi Jiaya's achievement of great saint status was a devastating blow to his arrogant genius, making him feel that further cultivation was meaningless. The ancient immortal clan, the Golden Crow clan, the ancient god clan, and others fell silent that day. Countless saint kings and great saints sighed, gazing towards the Righteous Path Alliance, as if they saw the most glorious star of all time slowly rising. Meanwhile, the remaining 12 demonic sects, the Heavenly Demon Quasi-Emperor, the Dream Marsh Empress, the Old Asura who besieged Wubuang Quasi-Emperor, the Underworld Yama Quasi-Emperor, and others were all shaken and urgently convened a meeting. Yi Jiaya's achievement of great saint status held terrifying significance. Even quasi-emperors were wary. Given more time, the demonic path truly faced the danger of destruction, just like the Yin-Yang sect. No need to wait for the ancient demons. Establish the Demon Alliance, gather tens of thousands of demon cultivators, and launch a large-scale attack on the 16 provinces of the Righteous Path. Kill all the righteous. The Heavenly Demon Quasi-Emperor coldly declared at the Demonic Path Conference. This time, it was no longer a surprise attack, but a blatant assault, a true declaration of war. The Taijuan clan is still alive, though it's not certain. The black-robed monk spoke up. He was a conservative. Attacking only after the ancient demons had attained the great emperor realm was the most appropriate course of action. Even if the Taijuan clan existed, it wouldn't change the inevitable defeat of the Righteous Path. In the face of my immense demonic path power, any existence will be crushed into dust. What good is the Taijuan clan's continued existence? The gods and demons in the Dark Forbidden Zone will come forward to wipe them out. The Heavenly Demon Quasi-Emperor sneered. He wasn't entirely sure what the Dark Forbidden Zone's intentions were. They hadn't openly revealed themselves yet, and the Dark God was just an unexpected turn of events. However, he believed that with the appearance of the Taijuan group, someone from the Dark Forbidden Zone would definitely come out to punish him. After all, he had made a huge feud with some gods and demons years ago because of the theft of the Supreme Dao Imperial weapon. Then let's attack. Wipe out the righteous. Everyone fell silent, their killing intent soaring. One day, the 12 demonic sects, centered around the Heavenly Demon sect in Tianzhou, formed a demonic alliance. The Heavenly Demon, the Old Asura, and others served as deputy alliance leaders, while the main alliance leader was the ancient demon Great Emperor. Countless powerful individuals swarm like locusts, from low-level cultivators to quasi-emperors, numbering in the tens of millions. It's worth noting that the combined total of all the major and minor sects of the Righteous Path Alliance only amounted to a few million elites. The demonic side, however, was arguably the most powerful alliance in tens of thousands of years. Moreover, they were all elites, if you included some smaller forces and families. The number was no less than 1 billion, enough to overturn the entire Kingyuan realm. The Righteous Path has been suppressed by our demonic path for several epochs, and this time will be no exception. We should have launched a large-scale war long ago to annihilate the Righteous Path. The last great war was in ancient times. The Righteous Path was almost destroyed. What did they have to fight us with? Slaughter the entire world. The demons within the Asura sect were the most ruthless. Most of their cultivation methods relied on killing to increase their power. Upon hearing of the outbreak of war, they were overjoyed. War, for them, was a great opportunity to rapidly increase their cultivation. Demon cultivators at the True Core, Spirit Realm, and Dao Integration Realm were equally excited. These individuals looked down upon righteous cultivators of the same realm, killing countless people in low-level warfare. They completely crushed the righteous. Prepare early. Don't be careless. The Righteous Path is different now than before. They cultivate Yi Jiao's method, which is very sinister. A Saint King from the Taiyan Demon Palace declared, calming down the overly excited disciples of the 12 demon sects. That year, he and the ancestor of the Harmonious Union secretly plotted to assassinate Yi Xiaoyao. They stayed at the Yin-Yang sect for a long time, witnessing firsthand that all disciples who had cultivated Yi Xiaoyao's absorption of essence great technique had their bodies explode and died. There was even a pill that caused impotence, and it was contagious. Every time he thought about this Saint King would tremble, unconsciously looking at his lower body, fearing that his brother would never be able to stand up again. Evil sect, just rumors. My demonic cultivators have far more ferocious divine abilities than them, and they grow stronger with each battle. That's right, my demonic divine abilities are the most powerful. Sacrificing the blood of enemies nourishes my great Tao. The disciples of the Heavenly Demon Sect, the Underworld Mansion, the Dream Marsh Mountain, and the Ancient God Sect paid no heed to this. Now, in the Thongyayan realm, many know that Yi Xiaoya's techniques are very sinister, but only the Yin-Yang sect has truly experienced them. The disciples of the other 12 demonic sects have never even seen them. 10 years ago, the main targets of Taizhuan's disciples were Yin-Yang sect disciples. Other demonic sects had very little contact with them. Separated by hundreds of thousands of miles, the distance was too great. In their opinion, demonic sects' divine abilities were incredibly brutal. They could burn their own blood or devour the flesh and blood of others to greatly increase their strength. They also possessed various elixirs that increased speed, power, and reaction speed. Over millions of years, in this aspect of divine abilities, the demonic sects were the most powerful, unmatched even by the ancient races. Therefore, they naturally developed a kind of self-confidence. Those demonic sect saints and great saints who had experienced Yi Xiaoya's sacred techniques also warned their disciples. Of course, it was only a warning. In the eyes of the demonic sect saints, a mere numerical advantage over tens of millions of disciples was enough to overwhelm the righteous sects. Moreover, they were also proficient in large-scale demonic formations, possessing absolutely formidable power. Using weakness to counter strength was no problem. Any evil divine abilities were merely for show. A few days later, the demonic forces had gathered, shaking the entire Qingyuan realm. Meanwhile, on the righteous side, with Yi Xiaoya's return, his reputation throughout the righteous realm reached its peak. The Yin-Yang sect's calamity was essentially created by Yi Xiaoya alone, earning him the unwavering belief in his ability to rule. His great saint cultivation level further instilled awe in all the Holy Lands. It could be said that Yi Xiaoyao's words in the Righteous Alliance were like sacred decrees. He was not just an alliance leader, but far superior. Even the Taizhuan Emperor's son, the Pyomio Emperor's daughter, and the Sun and Moon Emperor's son were completely convinced and willingly followed him. A great saint! Even Su Fengliu exclaimed, Yi Xiaoyao had reached a height beyond his reach. It was terrifying. He wanted to go to Yi Xiaoya's residence to sincerely ask for guidance on divine abilities, but unfortunately, he was met with a closed door. Yi Xiaoyao seemed to be researching something in a newly built underground laboratory. In Bazo, in the main hall of the Righteous Path Alliance, originally 8 great sacred lands, now one more had joined them. That was the remnants of the Penglai Sacred Land, led by the Taiku Quasi-Emperor, who had led the remnants to escape pursuit the day before and arrived in Bazo. The 9 great sacred lands were now complete. At this moment, the atmosphere in the hall was heavy, like the prelude to a storm. The disciples of the Righteous Path Alliance have almost finished their cultivation in the past few months. Begin to assemble, prepare for battle against the demonic alliance. The Killing Sword Quasi-Emperor spoke, his eyes cold. The Demon Sect has deployed a vanguard force, roughly 30,000 spirit realm cultivators, commanded by the Blood Jade Saint of the Asura Sect, to attack Zizhou. Several small righteous forces have been annihilated. Their speed was too fast. We couldn't retreat in time. Kunlun Wugong Quasi-Emperor frowned. Zizhou is close to the Asura sect, separated by the Oxheart Mountain, and is occupied by the Demon Clan, with the ancient Kuiniu as its overlord. It now seems to have a close relationship with the Asura sect. It seems that one-legged old ox is unwilling to remain neutral and wants to take advantage of the situation to devour the righteous forces. A beast is a beast. Burial Demon Quasi-Emperor snorted coldly. The Demon Clan, in a sense, is a branch of the ancient race, like the divine beast Swan Enai and the ancestral dragon lineage. If this continues, they will only become stronger. The primordial Quasi-Emperor's face was grim and worried. This is the greatest reliance of the demonic path in the ancient ages to suppress the righteous path. All kinds of demonic techniques exist, and the more people die, the faster their cultivation increases. It's alright, with the Emperor's Master's method, we can send 10,000 people to deal with them. Inside the hall, the old Heavenly Master spoke. He had witnessed firsthand how sinister Yi Xiaoya's devilish divine abilities were during the competition. Now, except for the newly arrived Penglai Holy Land, most of the other Holy Lands are cultivating. Of course, the Taijuan Holy Land also paid, and the scripture repository opened its doors to Yi Xiaoya without limit. This, I'm afraid it's not safe. Taichu Quasi-Emperor was slightly startled, shaking his head. He didn't think 10,000 was a match for 30,000 opponents, and besides, the Asura disciples' strength was inherently superior to that of the righteous disciples. After all, they were famous for killing. As for Yi Xiaoya's techniques, he hadn't seen them. Even if he had some skill, it would be difficult for 10,000 to defeat 30,000. No problem. This time Taijuan Firechild, will lead the team. Shangguan Great Saint immediately spoke up. Since the establishment of the Righteous Path Alliance, they also opened their resource reserves. The 9 great holy lands possessed abundant treasures. As long as they eliminated the demons, they could exchange their achievements for treasures. Their first battle's achievements. Taijuan wouldn't let them go. Firechild, you're sending a terrifying master to lead your disciples to attack the Asura sect. Taichu Quasi-Emperor said in disbelief, and Killing Sword Quasi-Emperor, Burial Demon Quasi-Emperor, and others also widened their eyes in astonishment. Yi Xiaoya's techniques are undeniably powerful, but not strong enough to allow a single alchemist to lead a team to annihilate the Asura sect. I will report this to the Imperial Master. It's not a big problem. Let those ignorant little demons experience the fear of being dominated by powerful divine abilities and weapons. The great sage Zhangguang was extremely insistent. Yi Xiaoya's divine abilities are actually most suitable for large-scale warfare. They are practically made specifically for war. There are also some secret weapons that many in the Righteous Path Alliance are unaware of. For example, the blazing blue Gatling gun. Tens of thousands have already been manufactured. 10,000 Taijuan Imperial princes wielding Gatling guns could unleash a frenzied barrage on the Asura sect. Half an incense stick's worth of time could resolve the first battle. The world is divided into yin and yang, and the Tao is divided into righteous and evil. Righteousness draws upon the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, strengthening the foundation and cultivating the essence. Evil steals the very essence of life and death, seeking immediate gain. Evil hinders cultivation, seeking immortality. Welcome, fellow Taoists. But don't be too careless. The disciples of the demonic sect aren't that easy to deal with. Sending a Refinement Master to lead the disciples in battle, the primordial Quasi-Emperor felt it was very unreliable and full of distrust. However, seeing the great Saint Zhangguang stubbornly maintaining his opinion, he sighed inwardly and couldn't say anything more. The other party was a great saint from the Taijuan Holy Land, representing Taijuan in battle, and as an outsider, he couldn't stop him. He could only hope that there wouldn't be too much loss. The Killing Sword Quasi-Emperor, the Burial Demon Quasi-Emperor, and others saw this and were uncertain, not knowing what the great Saint Zhangguang was up to. Okay, let Taijuan fight the first battle. Give the order. Open the wormhole. Prepare for battle. Jijuyan finally agreed. He was very surprised. How could a Refinement Master fight a group of Asura sect disciples who were skilled in killing and warfare? Of course. The most crucial point is, this is a low-level war, a probing attack by the demonic forces. Without thoroughly investigating the internal affairs of the righteous path beforehand, they cannot directly engage in decisive battle. Even if the 10,000 disciples of Taijuan fail, the impact won't be significant. What has Yi Xiaoya been up to lately? With the major events settled, Shajian inquired about Yi Xiaoyao. Now that the other party holds absolute power in the Righteous Path Alliance, he has to handle every major matter himself. Yet, with the war underway, he hasn't come out yet. He's researching those captured Yin-Yang sect saints, saying he wants to create a large number of divine abilities. Taijuan Shishin Great Saint replied, his face twitching slightly. He had cautiously asked Yi Xiaoyao about it yesterday out of curiosity, but he hadn't asked again. The implication was too good. Even someone who had lived for thousands of years couldn't bear it. I've heard that studying ancient texts and listening to Tao sounds can create divine abilities. What can be created by studying the human body? The sword-slaying quasi-emperor frowned, indicating his incomprehension. Human body research. He had never even heard of it. Meanwhile, outside Yi Xiaoyao's small building, the ancient fish king paced back and forth, his gaze occasionally fixed on the building, revealing a mixture of anticipation and unease. As an experienced fisherman, ever since witnessing Yi Xiaoyao's creation of a fishing technique, he had been astonished and vowed to become his disciple. He traveled thousands of miles to Bezo, even sealing his own cultivation just to become his apprentice. Now, he only hoped to succeed, fearing rejection. Beside him was Yi Xiaoyao's nanny and personal assistant, Elder Bai, along with the #1 bodyguard, Black Donkey, a man and a donkey. Both were watching the ancient fish king, very wary. You want to become my disciple? Yi Xiaoyao slowly emerged from the small building, assessing this guy who was fishing like a wife. Greetings, Imperial Master. Seeing this, the ancient fish king's face lit up with joy, and he immediately stepped forward to greet him. Things were different now. Yi Xiaoyao was far stronger than him, his terrifying strength worthy of his respect. Moreover, Yi Xiaoyao had created a peerless fishing technique, clearly making him a leading figure in the fishing world. This alone was enough to fill him with fervent admiration. Becoming a disciple is possible, a registered disciple, but you must first pass a test. Yi Xiaoyao thought for a moment and replied directly. He was currently lacking research-oriented talent, and the Fish King's dedication and seriousness to fishing, unwavering for thousands of years, was enough to prove his unwavering commitment. If he were to transform his interest into that of a specimen researcher, he believed that in the future, he would be a great help. Good, very good greetings, Master Yi. The ancient Fish King was overjoyed, immediately kneeling down and bowing his head. This stunned even Elder Bai, who thought to himself that this renowned Saint King, a powerful expert of the ancient race, truly disregarded all dignity for the sake of fishing. Thousands of years old, calling an 18 or 19-year-old Master Yi. Yes, follow me, the test period is 1 year. You must fulfill all my requirements. If you fail, you can return to where you left off. Yi Xiaoyao smiled and nodded happily. Only 1 year for the test, even 10 years, 100 years. The disciple will gladly endure it. King Wangli was about to return to his senses, but inwardly he was carefree. A year was just a blink of an eye for these powerful cultivators. What kind of test was this? Even if Yi Xiaoyao were to have sex with him, he could endure it. Last time Yi Xiaoyao laughed like that, a whole bunch of demonic beasts died in the Taijuan Holy Land. I always felt uneasy. Elder Bai knew Yi Xiaoyao very well, and seeing this, he couldn't help but shudder. The High Immortal had summoned so many people. What exactly are they doing underground? Black Donkey was a little curious. The underground affairs were very mysterious. Many people were strictly forbidden from contacting Yi Xiaoyao. Even Funqueer and that beautiful woman weren't allowed in. I don't know, but I feel very uneasy. This is the first time I've seen him so serious. Elder Bai opened his mouth, watching Yi Xiaoyao, accompanied by the ancient Fish King, enter the pitch-black building, as if entering hell. Yi Xiaoyao opened a dark alcove on the first floor of the building and entered the underground tunnel, descending the stairs. After about 2 minutes, he arrived at a huge laboratory. Glass cages made of divine essence were densely covered with intricate array patterns, and several stone platforms also had arrays, luminous pearls, and other lighting equipment. Beside them were a variety of items: scalpels, hammers, pliers, forceps, bone arrows, shovels, spiked clubs, cleavers. Clearly a large-scale operating room. Around them, Little Diamond, Zhang Bauer, Long Ocean, Su Fengliu, and a dozen others were organizing the equipment and items. Little Diamond was Yi Xiaoyao's confidant, while the others came to follow Yi Xiaoyao in cultivation, learn divine abilities, and test the Fish King. Of course, they didn't know exactly what Yi Xiaoyao wanted to research. What are you doing? The Fish King asked, looking at the pile of sharp weapons, feeling a little uneasy. He felt somewhat restless. Just a small experiment, creating some techniques and gaining some insights. Yi Xiaoyao's smile became even brighter. Master, everything you requested is ready. Su Fengliu, no longer arrogant as before, respectfully said to Yi Xiaoyao. The others also responded. I wonder how the master intends to research. Zhang Bao asked curiously, speculating that it was related to creating new techniques and Yi Xiaoyao's increasing strength. Thinking of this, he was very excited. This was his purpose in coming. I witnessed firsthand how Yi Xiaoyao created a secret technique and his cultivation level increased dramatically. It must have been done with my eyes, Su Fengliu said confidently. He had witnessed Yi Xiaoyao motionless, watching Mo Sindao for several days, and yet he had already created the most powerful technique for seducing women. He just didn't understand the purpose of these tools. To create this secret chamber, a huge amount of resources were spent on various formations, divine essence, and even to flatter this imperial master. More than 10 masters of artifact crafting from 7 sacred lands joined forces to create various sacred artifacts for Yi Xiaoyao. For example, those tools on the table, the hammers, are extremely powerful. This kind of treatment, throughout history, has only been given to Yi Xiaoyao. With my eyes, what can I possibly see? Yes, absolutely nothing can be missed. Zhang Bao, Long Yoshan, and others were very excited, their eyes filled with anticipation. As for the so-called test, observing the creative technique was clearly a matter of fate. The world is divided into yin and yang, and the Tao is divided into righteous and evil. Righteousness draws upon the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, strengthening the foundation and cultivating the essence. Evil steals the very essence of life and death, seeking immediate gain. Evil hinders cultivation, seeking immortality. Welcome, fellow Taoists. Small, insignificant, these people probably haven't had much contact with Yi Xiaoyao. Only Little Diamond, with a strange look in his eyes, knew that this research was definitely very perverse. From now on, assist me. Whatever I tell you to do, you do it. Yi Xiaoyao slowly put on his white coat, very satisfied with his appearance. This doctor's attire made him look very professional. Then he pulled out a person from the large sack. Yi Xiaoyao, if you want to chop me up or skin me alive, say it quickly. The newly emerged grandmother of the Harmonious Union had his cultivation sealed by Yi Xiaoyao. He knew escape was impossible, so he raised his head and coldly snorted. He wouldn't bow down to this enemy, even if it meant death. Don't worry, I won't kill you. I'll just perform a small surgery on you. Yi Xiaoyao's face was full of smiles as he placed the body on the operating table and bound its hands and feet. He was similar to the general professors at the medical academy who were immersed in formalin, except that the medical academy professors were dead, while he was alive. Then Yi Xiaoyao picked up the scalpel. Want to torture me to death? Ha ha ha, this patriarch has experienced thousands of years. What hasn't I experienced? I've endured more suffering than you've ever experienced. Do you really think you can make me submit? The ancestor of the Harmonious Union's eyes turned red with rage, laughing wildly, his words filled with endless arrogance and mockery. As a practitioner of the demonic path, he had reached this height by fighting his way through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. How could mere torture frighten him? Hiss, they want to torture the ancestor of the Harmonious Union. Seeing this, Zhang Bani's eyelids twitched uncontrollably. Although he was a demonic cultivator, he couldn't bear such immense suffering. He felt somewhat fortunate that he had abandoned evil and followed righteousness early on. Otherwise, he would be the one lying on the table right now. Good, very good. I like tough guys. Yi Xiaoyao wasn't frightened, but rather pleased. His experiments required individuals with strong willpower. Otherwise, if they lost their minds at the slightest provocation, what could he possibly research? The 3,000 laws are in sync with a person's will. Ancestor He Huan, please rest assured, this isn't a slow and agonizing execution, but a great medical surgery. Don't misunderstand. You will become the first person to become the founder of the demonic cultivation path in the future. Yi Xiaoyao said seriously, then with a puff, the scalpel cut 3 inches below Ancestor He Huan's navel. Studying the Great Tao begins with studying the Danshan. From simple to complex, this requires a sequential progression. Thinking. Fresh blood frenzy erupted. Yi Xiaoyao's white robe instantly turned red, and he saw Su Fengliu, Long Yoshan, and others beside him blinking frantically. Yi Xiaoyao's eyes flashed with brilliance as he began to seriously observe the Danshan Sea of the Hewan ancestor. Within the Danshan, a vast expanse of countless law forces flowed, like a small universe within a galaxy, filled with the laws of wood and water. Just this. Your methods of torturing people, Yi Xiaoyao, are quite ordinary. The Hewan ancestor looked at Yi Xiao, his mockery growing even more intense. This pain was nothing more than an itch to him. Very good. Your water and wood laws are extremely stable and already perfected. Next, I need to open your meridians and observe their circulation trajectories. Yi Xiao praised, then seriously began the dissection. He looked like a top-tier surgical expert, his scalpel flying, precisely opening up the meridians. His eyes were like headlights, observing every detail of the flowing laws. Do you see? This small green thread is the law of wood. It's full of vitality, constantly regenerating. Judging by the quality of the thread, this person can still live for another 1,000 years and 3 months. Yi Xiao explained to Little Diamond and the others while performing the surgery. You can even discern lifespan. Such a vague thing. Little Diamond was a little stunned, staring for a long time, but couldn't see anything at all. You're exaggerating a bit. This is just a minor technique. The law of wood is also the best nutrient for spiritual herbs. To change its nature, bring me some dogtail grass, Yi Xiao said, and Little Diamond handed over a dogtail grass. It was very ordinary, not a spiritual herb. Then, in disbelief, the ancestor of harmony saw the dogtail grass planted in the small green vines. In an instant, the dogtail grass slowly bloomed with spiritual light, growing towards the direction of the spiritual herb, containing increasingly astonishing heaven and earth primordial energy. The human body itself is a treasure trove, the fundamental principles of the great Tao evolving, containing 3,000 laws. Your talents, those of the immortal martial divine body type, are merely a result of one law being stronger than another, or a mutation, thus manifesting itself. Yi Xiao tore open the ancestor of harmony's chest, seriously explaining, look, this pulsating heart naturally contains the fundamental principle of the fire law. It's just that ordinary people cannot detect it. The heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys correspond to the fundamental principles of the 5 elements. Yi Xiao took out a stone, placed it on the dirty heart, and with a flick of his right hand, flames immediately erupted from his heart, burning the stone to ashes. What you must do is unearth the hidden treasures within the human body. Little Diamond stared, completely shaken. He looked at Yi Xiao with boundless admiration and respect. Yi Xiao's understanding of the Great Tao surpassed many others. Even a single dissection could become a large-scale lecture. And the ancestor of harmony was also stunned, his gaze finally changing, a hint of astonishment in his eyes. He wasn't afraid of cruelty, but Yi Xiao's seemingly cruel actions, yet seemingly justified and righteous, were truly terrifying. Look at this large intestine, incredibly sturdy, comparable to metal. It's the evolution of the metal, wood, and fire laws, capable of nurturing a treasure weapon. Yi Xiao pulled out a section of the large intestine, then inserted an ordinary cleaver. With a gentle movement, the cleaver emitted spiritual light, showing signs of evolving into a treasure artifact. This is all, holy cow! Little Diamond was stunned, speechless. This is the bladder. Don't touch it. There's foul fluid inside. This is the yin. Yi Xiao meticulously dissected it, displaying extreme professionalism. Meanwhile, the originally cracked and broken ancestor of the joyful union, unable to maintain his composure, was utterly terrified. Linky death by dismemberment wasn't scary. What was terrifying was having something inexplicably implanted on his body, as if his body had become fertile ground. Demonic Tao? The most cruel aspect of the demonic Tao was its physical torture. Compared to this double torture of body and spirit, what was it? Yi Xiao, you devil, quickly, give me a death! The ancestor of the harmonious union roared, his hatred for Yi Xiao intensifying, because he saw his pants being pulled down. This is the place where yin and yang meet, the crucial point of male-female harmony, the root of life, containing the great Tao of heaven and earth. Yi Xiao pointed to a small bird, explaining it in great detail to Little Diamond, Zhang Bar, and the others. This was very similar to the scene where he explained cultivation techniques to over 10,000 yin-yang sect disciples back then. They were utterly terrified. Then Yi Xiao drew his sword. Ooh! Seeing the horrifying scene, Su Fengliu was the first to vomit. The Fish King was also terrified, finally understanding why this was called research and what a test was. Even with strong psychological resilience, he couldn't withstand such a shock. And Yi Xiaoyao's understanding of the yin-yang Tao was also rapidly increasing. He was almost cultivating the fifth law after the power of the soul, sword, and lightning. Ding, your understanding of the yin-yang Tao is even deeper. You have observed the mysteries of the human body and created the transformation of the divine demon technique. Transformation of the divine demon technique, a great emperor's technique, using the yin-yang Tao to create 100 million miniature beings, each possessing a certain level of combat power, capable of surrounding and killing enemies. A system voice echoed in his ears, and Yi Xiaoyao's eyelids twitched involuntarily. 100 million childbirths, that's equivalent to giving birth 100 million times. Even a donkey-producing team couldn't produce babies faster than you. Yi Xiaoyao was a little bewildered. This great emperor technique was truly explosive. However, its power was also terrifying. A few dozen people could create the entire Earth's population. Those murderous guys from the Asura sect, even with swords chopping until smoke rose, might not be able to finish them all. The system is awesome. This is truly a weapon of mass destruction in war. After a short time, I'll teach it to the disciples of the Righteous Path Alliance, and the numerical advantage of the demonic path will be gone. Yi Xiaoyao made up his mind. He didn't dare imagine what kind of scene it would be if hundreds of thousands of cultivators below could create billions, even hundreds of billions of miniature figures. It would probably scare the 12 demonic sects to death. Of course, this level of divine power is too overwhelming. Currently, only those above the saint level can withstand it. Meanwhile, on the operating table, the ancestor of Joyful Union was completely broken. Yi Xiaoyao, I beg you, kill me, he pleaded, his eyes filled with regret. Why did he have to provoke this guy? Was he out of his mind back then? Otherwise, how could he have to endure this inhuman torture before his death? Don't be impatient. I haven't thoroughly researched it yet. Yi Xiaoyao smiled and continued his research. From head to toe, from physical body to soul, the ancestor of Joyful Union was studied by Yi Xiaoyao several times, and even more meticulously. He received explanations and experience from Zhang Baoer, Su Fengliu, and others. Ooh, the scene was bloody, and Zhang Baoer couldn't help but vomit violently. For the first time, he felt an overwhelming fear of Yi Xiaoyao. He was 100 times more ruthless than the demonic cult. And the key point was that demonic cultivators kill with murderous intent and have altered psychology. But he didn't see a trace of killing intent or malice in Yi Xiaoyao. He only saw divinity. That's right, divinity. This was the most terrifying thing. The others weren't much better. By the end, the Fish King vomited 3 times. Su Fengliu vomited 4 times. Even little Jin Gang, who had endured years of Yi Xiaoyao's torment, vomited once. Just basic forensic techniques, you guys. Your psychological resilience is really low. Yi Xiaoyao shook his head, utterly bewildered. This kind of autopsy was perfectly normal for him. After all, he was a brilliant young man born under the red flag, raised in the spring breeze of the city. Put these body parts into the divine essence glass cabinet for storage. I want to observe them every night and comprehend the great Tao. Yi Xiaoyao raised a handkerchief, wiped the blood from his hand, and pointed at the Hewan patriarchs on the dissection table, as if looking at works of art. 10. What? You want to observe them every night? What's so special about this intestines and kidneys? Zhang Baoer's scalp tingled. He had thought he had overestimated Yi Xiaoyao, but he hadn't expected to underestimate him. Aren't you being a bit too bizarre? I'll do as you say, Yi Xiaoyao commanded, then smiled at the half-head of the Hewan patriarch and said, don't worry, at this saint level, life force is very tenacious. Even if your whole body disintegrates, you won't die. Damn it, I'll curse your ancestors, Yi Xiaoyao. The half-head of the Hewan patriarch trembled, and he roared in anger. This guy isn't an ordinary dog. I thought it was over, finally welcoming death. But instead he wants to separate him and seal him inside the divine essence, to offer him to visitors? What a beast! This? Yes. Su Fengliu swallowed hard, reluctantly placing half of the head of the Hewan ancestor into the divine essence glass display case. I still have over 200 saint kings, great saints, and others. Yi Xiaoyao looked at the Fish King, Su Fengliu, and the others, casually saying, once your skills are perfected, you can dissect them all and put them into these glass display cases, comprehending. The remaining 5 laws requires prolonged observation. Suddenly, Yijia's expression changed, becoming somewhat strange. Looking around, he felt like he was about to open a large-scale ancient artifact museum. The saints in his hands were at least 2,000 years old. Truly antiques. Living mummies. We're going to dissect them. The ancient fish king asked in horror, completely numb. This test is no ordinary test. No way, dissecting over 200 of them would exhaust me to death. What use would you guys be otherwise? Yishaya rolled his eyes, then fell into thought. He needed to find something for those guys to practice with, so they wouldn't ruin his mummies. Ding, you've thought it through. You want to create a rudimentary surgical experimental specimen. You've combined the terrafining method and paper-piercing technique to create the divine ability paper-piercing scripture. Paper-piercing scripture, earthly fiend's secret method, encompassing all kinds of paper-piercing, people, horses, sedan chairs, beasts, knives, swords. Paper-piercing dragons, dotting their eyes, bestowing souls. They are identical and capable of fighting. You only need to pierce the paper 10,000 times to enter the sect. The strength of the piercing depends on the material and your cultivation level. Yijia's eyes brightened slightly, and he smiled radiantly. Creating sacred techniques was now simpler for him than before because his understanding of the Great Tao was deeper, closer to the fundamental principles of the Tao and the Dharma. As for the heavenly and earthly levels below the sacred techniques, he could create dozens in a single day just by thinking about them. It was like a leading figure in mathematics, someone who could create exam questions for elementary school, casually arranging and combining elements to produce dozens of mind-blowing math problems. This is the paper-piercing scripture, the earthly fiend's sacred technique, newly created. Study it quickly, and after entering the sect, dissect these people. Yishaya casually wrote on a stack of paper and gave it to Little Diamond, instructing him to teach it to the others. A low-level paper sculpture will only pierce the surface, while a high-level one will pierce the internal structure, like piercing a paper figure the internal organs, blood vessels, and meridians. Everything must be pierced. Understanding. The human anatomy is the fundamental basis for performing surgery. The earthly fiend's sacred technique, and it was just created. Zhangbao's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets upon hearing this, staring at Yixiao in shock, as if looking at a monster. As the saint son of the Yin-Yang sect, he only understood that the other party's ability to create sacred techniques must have required a great deal of time and dedicated research. After all, even great emperors would need many years to create a single sacred technique. But he never imagined Yixiao would create a sacred technique so casually. It had only been a few hours. Seeing his creative ability for the first time, he truly understood just how terrifying this person was. Little Diamond, however, was no longer surprised. Excitedly, he accepted the paper, carefully examining it, and couldn't help but excitedly slap his thigh. Indeed, it was still the same group from 10 years ago. The paper-piercing technique, this underworld flavor, was so familiar to him. Paper piercing, the paper figures produced have combat capabilities and even sentience. This is even more powerful than puppet techniques. The ancient fish king exclaimed in awe. Puppet techniques were very popular in the ancient era, possessing extremely high combat power and flourishing for a time, but they quickly became difficult to create. Because making a saint-level puppet required extremely precious materials, they had long since become extinct. Good. The paper figures produced are not only powerful but also possess the sentience of living beings. Zhangbao was even more excited, praising it incessantly. Then, looking at Yixiao, he hesitated for a long time before tentatively asking, "Master Yi, can paper figures be used? The world is divided into yin and yang, and the Tao is divided into righteous and evil. Righteousness draws upon the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, strengthening the foundation and cultivating the essence. Evil steals the very essence of life and death, seeking immediate gain. Evil hinders cultivation, seeking immortality. Welcome, fellow Taoists. You damn genius." Yixiao gave a thumbs up, astonished. He truly lived up to his reputation as the saint son of the Yin-Yang sect. What talent or virtue do I possess to be called your master? Having made his arrangements, Yixiao released over 200 Yin-Yang sect saints, sealed their cultivation, and threw them aside. "Yixiao, I'm your mother." The unfailing great saint, upon emerging, immediately began cursing, clearly still harboring deep resentment from Yi Xiaoyao's words. "I'm your mother," that day. "Let me go. Fight me again if you dare. I'll kill you. Yi Xiaoyao, kill me if you have the guts. Please, release me. I have an 8,000-year-old mother above me and an 8-year-old child below me." Over 200 yin-yang sect saints clamored, their voices echoing like the comment section of some novels, a cacophony of insults. "Let these people off properly." Without even lifting his eyelids, Yi Xiaoyao took off his white coat and left the laboratory. Comprehending 5 laws in one go wasn't something that could be achieved overnight. A complete dissection and comprehension was the best approach. Moreover, merely successfully comprehending them wouldn't significantly boost his cultivation. He needed resources, such as dual cultivation, and although the effect wasn't as great as before, it was better than nothing. Yi Xiaoya's daily schedule was meticulously planned. In the morning, he researched the mysteries of the body in the laboratory. At noon, he researched the mysteries of the body with Feng Kuier. In the afternoon, he researched the mysteries of the body with Lan Yaoji, developing new postures. At night, he created cultivation techniques, formations, and other things, and conveniently consumed some kidney-strengthening and aphrodisiac sacred medicines. He did his work during the day, but not at night. That day, in the main hall of the Righteous Path Alliance, Yi Xiaoyao, along with many high-ranking great saints and the Killing Sword Quasi-Emperor, escorted Huo Tongzi to intercept the 30,000 disciples of the Asura sect. "Rest assured, with me taking charge, everything will be fine," the 8 or 9-year-old fire child shouted, extremely excited. He and many other alchemists had created a batch of Gatling weapons, and today they finally had a chance to use them. After this battle, his reputation would surely spread far and wide. "I suddenly lack confidence." The Killing Sword Quasi-Emperor looked at the 8 or 9-year-old fire child and said doubtfully. After so many years, his head was still so big. He even wondered if this little thing might be accidentally trampled to death by friendly forces on the battlefield. "I also lack confidence. I always feel unreliable." Sinful Saint looked at the fire child, his teeth clenched. "Sinful Saint, do you believe I'll beat you to death?" Huo Tongzi, with his bad temper, immediately glared. "Kill me, jump up and hit me in the knee?" Sin Saint glanced at him and retorted, "Huo Tongzi, don't talk so much nonsense. Let's go." Yi Xiaoyao waved his hand, not bothering to look at them. Sin Saint and these foolish natives wouldn't believe how powerful the weapon he created was unless they witnessed the Gatling gun's power. Even so, many Taijuan geniuses like Zhao Zikang, Feng Jie, and Wang Li had gone to win the first battle. "Go HMPH. Huo Tongzi said nothing more, snorted coldly, and turned to leave. In the first battle between good and evil, he wanted to shock these people. After the fire child left, Yi Xiaoyao looked around at everyone in the main hall, tapping the railing and saying, "Everyone, since the burial Emperor Mountain, we have been constantly on the defensive. We absolutely cannot be led around by the nose by the demonic sect. In a sense, our righteous path is equivalent to the demonic sect's prey. Now, it's time to switch roles." He saw that receiving system rewards for imparting divine abilities was one aspect, while actively seizing the demonic sect's resources was another. With both methods combined, plus the experiments conducted by those in the laboratory, the laws and cultivation would synchronize, and he could soon break through to the Quasi-Emperor realm. At that time, he could truly control the war between the righteous and the demonic. What does the Emperor Master mean? Zhu Jiyan, the Killing Sword Quasi-Emperor, and others exchanged glances, while the great saints in the hall also began discussing animatedly. They were aware of this, but it was unavoidable. The demonic sect had already united, and destroying another sect was practically impossible. Even the yin-yang sect had nearly caused them to capsize. If that dark god had intervened, their men would have suffered heavy casualties. Of course, they didn't know the reason why the dark gods abandoned them, only speculating that it was related to Yi Xiaoyao. Select the strongest elites of the Righteous Path Alliance and launch a lightning attack on the demonic sect. Kill some of the demonic sect's saints, seize their treasures, and retreat quickly. Yi Xiaoyao's eyes blazed with intense ambition. Under normal circumstances, he could slowly increase his cultivation, but now he truly had no time. The demonic sect's quasi-emperors and the Dark Forbidden Zone were like a massive mountain, pressing down on him. The dark god was struck by his sledgehammer, making him feel an intense sense of danger. He couldn't sleep or eat peacefully without becoming invincible. "Are you trying to rob me?" The burial demon quasi-emperor stared in astonishment, clearly understanding Yi Zhaoyao's intentions. Others were also bewildered. As righteous cultivators, the word robbery simply didn't exist in their vocabulary. "Yes, it's robbery," Yi Zhaoyao said calmly, naturally. "For millions of years, only the demonic path has plundered the righteous path, stealing our women, our divine source minds, our spiritual medicines. Why can they steal, but we can't?" The voice boomed like a great bell, shaking the entire hall and stirring ripples in the hearts of the great saints present. They were incomprehensible, yet somewhat excited. Indeed, the righteous path was often preyed upon by the demonic path. Even several thousand years ago, several saintesses were abducted, their fates tragic. Isn't this a bit strange? Besides, a lightning attack might be a one-way trip. What will we use to venture into this dragon's lair? Tai Chu Quasi-Emperor frowned. The destruction of Penglai Holy Land made him well aware of the terrifying power of the demonic path. Now that the demonic alliance had been established, the demonic path group wasn't foolish either. Anyone surrounded by their great saints and saint kings basically had no chance of survival. This wasn't about plundering. It was clearly a free handover of heads. Simply put, the speed isn't fast enough. If you were fast enough, even a donkey couldn't catch you. Besides, it's not an attack on the demonic alliance's headquarters, but on another demonic sect. Yi Zhaoyao glanced at him. Tai Chu Quasi-Emperor's face twitched. He felt this guy was insulting him. There are too many enemies. They've probably already prepared. Without powerful divine abilities as a backup, it's probably impossible. The sword-slaying Quasi-Emperor's heart pounded. With the war breaking out, resources became scarce. If they could seize even a little, the overall strength of the righteous forces would undoubtedly increase dramatically. Unfortunately, the speed of their sacred techniques and divine abilities was simply insufficient. Except for a few limited Great Emperor techniques, no one possessed such speed in killing and retreating. The Brahmins, being the #1 assassin force, relied on their Great Emperor technique, Ink Splatter Rainbow Scroll. Derived from the first of the 36 heavenly gang techniques, Earth-Shattering Golden Light, it was even more powerful than this technique. Even within the Brahmins, few had successfully cultivated this Great Emperor technique. Emperor techniques were simply too difficult to master. Last night, I observed the celestial phenomena and gained some understanding. I've created 2 Great Emperor techniques, enough for us to launch a lightning-fast attack and plunder before Enran retreats. Yi Zhaoyao said slowly, getting straight to the point. This was the first Emperor technique he was to teach. I'm really looking forward to seeing how generous the reward system will be. His imperial techniques are incredibly easy to cultivate. In this aspect, they surpass any other imperial techniques. His transformation into a divine demon technique, creating 100 million minions, could completely block a group of demonic Dao saints from attacking. He could then seize the opportunity to plunder rare treasures and steal them. His ghost back tattoo, depicting 9 dragons pulling a coffin, could also be used. If everyone tattooed this thing, the entire area would be filled with 9 dragons pulling a coffin, their speed skyrocketing. Even a great emperor himself would be stunned. They couldn't possibly catch up. Even a dog would shake its head in disbelief. Hendiang then fap la ggc kang, ingui noi kai ji, gn thought. Sat kim chuan gn lsehu, bang nyan thine sccccng ji, kang dam tin non via fia dao ti dao. Hoigi emchen, koeng elam he kang. Kang sai, ta kiem zum thien tang, new ko hio kien. Dai tu dao ke vut ccm. Gn that, kan md nala hyman. Di la sat kim chuan gn kun king nun ggc xmt kao noi tic, fung fitsen gn pi kunt. Ti thine thoi thiji kio dai hin ne. Then fat me again enchium ting sen zut hyen emtiman, the hang gn that vien enchium hu chai chen, ko the koki sang to rahin, chako gn kui kung si ggi. Mgi ko the sang chik emtiman. No bun hin thine kim thin yua, vien sp enchium kwe gn the chiko empty hyman thai, turn tong bo gayan. Fam la ko gn that zut hyen, chin mo hi hu. Dong tai tai si cheng tic humuan tren hot hu re mao chi. Buiv ko the ggc hinjatro alen bo nu. angry vien cha tggn, kai ne sang to rahiman gn thought. Hen tot kung la lam salam ggc, tong ma chuan gn kung lachin kin. Ko the sang to than fap, gg gach the en, bay gig le ko the sang to ra ggn thought, hen kung hoigi dip to da ko fi he kang trong tryan thite jan chayan the. Archd ko sao? Dip to da kan ngc, kan ko cm jik gko ln bo nu. Mgigtk da mt run ray, vo yi ne kich thich kochiti chu kang ggc. Hu gi trung mechi tine. Ko, tu lion sao. Feel me thean fat chuan jian thi sao, lane hu cm non ggc con trong. Nung gi con le kung jing la tuana en chen ti kai ji, eng thi, trung non chum chum dip tu dao. The jian ggn that quako tu lion, chu di la chuan jian, muan hem mtiman jian that tu lion tvn mdn. Kuen fi cnn lche ng alenthi jian, them kai si dian. Chuhen tunne, chin ma hai heo vien chako gi now hem entiman ji jian that tu lion tvn mdn. Ko the tu than, ji la kintai tu yatim, ji than lak gac kang ko mechi. Kang ko, kang fap ca to than thang, luan la mt ejong rong roi non dan kun chung, phi thong than dan. Dat du da mgm qg noi. So ko ham hai ting tm quien do the kia jo sat kim chuan gn. Gn that kung then fap kik bite, gan chu di heo. Bien thong gifi tuyen kang chun e dien shaji heo luk leung. Then dan tit. Sat kim chuan gn hun hara mt. Lpptic trung tip non, tinti zem kang hai, kang zem kang la kin hai. The first scroll, titled Demon Back Tattoo, was obscure in its wording, seemingly transformed from the fundamental essence of the Great Tao. It encompassed everything, seemingly containing 3,000 laws. This is even more powerful than my divine sword Holy Land's Great Emperor technique. The killing sword Quasi-Emperor gasped. Similar Great Emperor techniques are usually the ultimate evolution of a single law, or the ultimate evolution of multiple laws. But this demon-backed tattoo contained countless laws, like chaos itself, harboring boundless possibilities. Finally, he completely understood, and was utterly impressed by Yi Xiaoyao. Whatever was inscribed, that law would appear, empowering and imbuing it. This was too exaggerated, almost like replicating someone else's abilities. The second scroll of animal skin was the transformation of divine demons technique, an ultimate clone technique containing yin-yang Dao, human body mysteries, and soul secrets, capable of artificially creating babies. The killing sword Quasi-Emperor was utterly shocked. It wasn't just that this technique was incredibly powerful, beyond his world's comprehension. This divine ability means, as long as I give birth quickly, you can't kill me. The killing sword Quasi-Emperor's eyes widened, completely bowing to Yi Xiaoyao. A small accomplishment could create 100 million little humans, a large accomplishment at least 5 billion. The key was the difficulty of cultivation. Although somewhat indescribable, it was undeniably very low. Quickly give it to me. The burial demon Quasi-Emperor watched the killing sword Quasi-Emperor's expression change back and forth, finally unable to bear it any longer, snatched the animal skin scroll from his hand, and examined it carefully. Seeing this, others also crowded around, pushing their way inside. I swear this is the most commoner's Great Emperor technique in history. The difficulty of cultivation is really low. It's just that some perverted people suffer 100 million times more during childbirth. Their umbilical cords are probably numb. Tattoo Master, back when I was living in the mortal world, I saw someone tattoo a dragon on their body claiming to be the true dragon son of heaven. Later, someone burned off their claws, turning them into a dragon. I've tattooed it 10,000 times, and I don't think this is difficult. Not difficult. Are you blind? It needs to be perfect. Without the standards of a master of the art, even tattooing it 100 million times wouldn't be good. Inside the main hall, Duan Shui Quasi-Emperor, Ji Juyin, and others watched intently, their eyes shining, their breathing rapid. Although the cultivation method was somewhat unconventional, the value for money was very high. Throughout history, how easy has it been to cultivate a great emperor technique? If one cultivates to a certain level, a righteous Quasi-Emperor is powerful enough to challenge a demonic Quasi-Emperor. Imperial Master, the teacher of the Great Emperor, truly worthy of his name. The sword-slaying Quasi-Emperor looked at Yi Xiaoyao with a complex expression. Only now did this title truly deserve its name. Thank you, Imperial Master. Thank you, Imperial Master, for bestowing these techniques. The 9 great sacred lands, including the Taijuan Shai Tia Great Saint, all bowed respectfully. They clearly understood the value of these 2 great emperor techniques. Any major power would hardly be able to selflessly offer them. These divine abilities alone were enough for Yishaya to elevate the 9 great sacred lands altars and stand shoulder to shoulder with the great emperors of all ages. It's all to resist the demonic Tao. Yishaya chuckled, then said, "Now, do you have the confidence to launch a lightning attack and plunder the demonic Tao? Their supreme Tao imperial weapons are powerful, but they can't stop our speed." Naturally, we have confidence. The sword-slaying quasi-emperor laughed heartily, his confidence soaring. Tiu possessed the great emperor's technique, and he knew very well how powerful it was. Just like the Brahma Rainbow Transformation quasi-emperor, even 5 quasi-emperors working together couldn't stop him. His speed was simply unbelievable. "I want your tattoos, the 9 dragons pulling a coffin," Yishaya said, taking out a piece of paper and handing it to the killing sword quasi-emperor. 9 dragons pulling a coffin. This speed would only surpass that of the Rainbow Transformation quasi-emperor, giving the feeling of flying. This dragon is the ancestor dragon of the true dragon clan. The killing sword quasi-emperor took it and looked at it, unable to help but be stunned. His scalp instantly tingled. The first-generation ancestor dragon of the true dragon clan was extremely powerful. If there were a difference in strength between great emperors, the ancestor dragon's strength could rank among the top 5. Invincible physical body, invincible speed, immortal and indestructible, it had no weaknesses whatsoever. Currently, the true dragon clan, even with only a not-so-pure ancestral dragon bloodline, can become one of the 10 great ancient imperial clans, which is enough to show how terrifying the ancestral dragons truly are. And this thing. Amazing! 9 ancestral dragons pulling a coffin. If this were projected into reality through the tattoo, he wouldn't dare imagine what kind of scene it would be. Awesome! I think this is a good idea. Let's give it a try. Others also watched with pounding hearts, their eyes burning with excitement. 1 ancestral dragon tattoo is enough to suppress those of the same level. 9. How much would that boost their strength? Seeing this, Yishaya nodded slightly and said, "I'll give you half a month." After half a month, the Fire Child will have almost figured out the origins of those 30,000 troops. When they make their move, we will also attack the demonic sect. The first place to plunder is the Taiyan Demon Palace. The Taiyan Demon Palace possesses a divine medicine, the Taiyan Divine Tree, which, according to legend, was formed from a strand of Taiyan energy that separated from the yin and yang energies during the primordial chaos. If he could possess it, his chances of breaking through to the Quasi-Emperor realm would increase significantly. Taiyan Demon Palace, good. Juju Yin of the Sun and Moon Palace's eyes flashed with cold light, and he immediately agreed. The Taiyan Demon Palace and the Sun and Moon Palace had a long-standing feud. Years ago, a Sun and Moon Palace master died at the hands of the Zhuanyin ancestor, and he was even a Quasi-Emperor, possessing peak combat power. The meeting concluded. The Bajou Righteous Path Alliance, originally characterized by an upward-looking and proactive style, had become somewhat disoriented under the teachings of Emperor Yi Ziyao. "My disciples, tell me honestly, how have I treated you?" The Sun and Moon Palace's Qinglan Great Saint called upon his more than 30 male disciples, his face full of solemnity. As a great saint, his disciples were naturally not lacking in skill. The lowest cultivation level among them was at least the heavenly human realm. The disciples, not knowing what had happened, still reached out and answered truthfully, "Master's kindness to us is as immense as a mountain, like a reborn parent." "Good, very good. Now it's time for your report. I need your assistance in cultivating divine abilities." A chrysanthemum-like smile bloomed on the old face of the great sage Qinglan. He was waiting for this very sentence. Cultivating divine abilities, this, "Master, you know, I like women." A young man remained silent for a moment, then spoke with difficulty. "Master, you know, I like men, but you're a bit too old." Another middle-aged man with a pale, beardless face cleared his throat, indicating his lack of interest in his aging master. "Master, you know, I like animals." A white-bearded old man in the corner cautiously said. The others quickly nodded. Society is developing too fast now. The older people get, the more eccentric they become. Who knows what their master's intentions are? In their opinion, cultivating divine abilities requires assistance, and this can only be achieved through dual cultivation. They didn't want to duel with their revered master. The great sage Qinglan's eyelids twitched. He really wanted to kill these disciples with one head. He had already collected a few things. Recently, I've taken a liking to tattoos. I need a human body as a canvas to learn this technique. Let's start by tattooing a dragon. The great sage Qinglan suppressed his anger and forced a smile. Master is indeed getting more and more perverted with age, even liking tattoos. Many disciples glanced at each other, understanding each other implicitly, but they all breathed a sigh of relief. As long as it wasn't a sword fight, it was fine. Master was a great sage, his body as hard as iron. Who could defeat him in a sword fight? Master has shown me great kindness. I am willing to offer my body to you for your learning. The middle-aged man immediately said, trusting his master's technique, that these tattoos were no problem at all. However, I have a small request. I hope Master will tattoo a pair of dragons playing with a pearl for me. He said this with a hint of embarrassment, his eyes filled with longing. He had long admired the true dragon clan. Pursuing a few dragons was hopeless, but satisfying his vanity was still acceptable. A pair of dragons playing with a pearl. This guy isn't going to tattoo two dragons on top, is he? Damn it, this is playing with his little brother's head. The other disciples, hearing this, widened their eyes in shock. Senior brother is still so perverted. Even the courtesans in the brothel aren't as perverted as you. The veins on Qinglan Great Sage's forehead bulged wildly, his lungs almost bursting with anger. It turned out that under the wall, there were no decent people. Finally, Qinglan Great Sage began tattooing the middle-aged man's back. A moment later, is this a worm? Or a shrimp? A crowd of onlookers stared at the design on the senior disciple's back, questioning their master for the first time. The tattoo artistry was truly terrible. A dragon pattern resembled a large worm's legs, or perhaps a large snake-like shrimp. It's all right, I'll recover. The middle-aged man didn't mind. He was already a saint, capable of regeneration even with a drop of blood, let alone washing away a tattoo. But after half a day, to his disbelief, the snake on his back wouldn't wash off, not even the regeneration of his physical body. I forgot to tell you, this tattoo is a divine ability, a great Tao imprint, almost impossible to wash away. The great Saint Qinglan cleared his throat. This wasn't an ordinary tattoo. It was like a god-level talisman, each stroke incredibly difficult, containing the profound principles of the great Tao. How could it be easily washed away? What? The middle-aged man's scalp instantly exploded. He couldn't wash it off. How could he ever face anyone again? Would he have to fight the demonic sect, strip off his clothes, and reveal his genitals, making those demonic cultivators laugh to death? The other disciples, seeing this, also changed their expressions, stiffly turning their heads and came face to face with their master, who was beaming with a smile. A sudden sense of unease arose in their hearts. Meanwhile, on the other side, the killing sword quasi-emperor summoned his newly accepted disciple, the thunder and lightning Dharma King Yuanjing. Along with other disciples, the killing sword quasi-emperor's face was full of kindness. Disciples, it's time for you to show your skills. Yuanjing was completely bewildered. Why was his expression so similar to Yi Zhangyao's? And a female great saint also summoned her disciples. Master, don't pity me. Feel free to trample on them. Male disciples responded to the female great sage's request. Such situations occurred in various places within the Righteous Path Alliance. The more clever ones were to directly open tattoo shops. For example, the first great sage of the Misty Realm, the Sinful Sage, and the old Heavenly Master of the Heavenly Master's Holy Land, disguised themselves and set up a small shop called Zhang's Tattoo Shop. It shared a similar style with Li Ji's restaurant and Wang's restaurant. They even had a couplet, professional tattooing for 3,000 years, left, tattooing gift of 3,000 yuan. Stones, a few days later. Damn professional tattooing for 3,000 years? Terrible workmanship, and you can't even wash it clean. 3,000 yuan stones is a rip-off. Zhang's tattoo shop must close. Compensation. Compensation. At least 80,000 yuan stones. Over 100 tattooed figures with shrimp patterns on their backs. The Great Han Dynasty's enraged man brandishing a banner angrily smashed the Zhang Remembers tattoo sign. scaring the sinful saint and the old heavenly master into fleeing in the night. The next day, he disguised himself again and opened a Liuji tattoo shop on a different street. Suddenly, a tattoo craze swept through Bazo, filling the city with tattoos. Half a month later, the streets and alleys were practically filled with people covered in tattoos. The designs were everything: shrimp, flowers, birds, fish, insects. Many high-ranking members of the righteous path initially practiced, but eventually it became a trend. Many ordinary people and low-level cultivators joined the trend, tattooing all sorts of things on their bodies. And amidst this craze, Yi Xiaoyao inexplicably stayed at the very peak of the tattoo craze. Now, in the Kangyuan realm, Yi Xiaoyao is the most famous person, like a revered celebrity. Many cultivators had Yi Xiaoyao's portrait tattooed on their bodies, along with his name and titles, such as Grandmother of Ghost Dao, Imperial Master, Yi Rishan, and so on. Male cultivators hope to be as powerful as Yi Xiaoyao. Female cultivators, on the other hand, simply worshipped him and hoped to bear him children. One day, Yi Xiaoyao convened another meeting, preparing for the robbery. However, after seeing their tattoos, his face turned pale with anger, and his fingers trembled. "I told you to tattoo 9 dragons pulling a coffin, but you tattooed 9 dogs pulling a coffin. What's the meaning of that? 9 dogs." The Shanhai Jing classic of mountains and sea says, "The mountain of horses. There is a beast here. Its form is like a white dog with a black head. It flies when it sees people." Called the celestial horse. A mythical beast of the era, possessing incredible speed, no less than the Kunpeng, traveling to the North Sea to the tomb of King Wu. Didn't you want 9 dragons tattooed? Yi Xiaoyao was bewildered. He noticed that the 9 dogs pulling a bronze coffin on those people's bodies were too beautiful, practically an eyesore. What kind of celestial horse was it? It looked like a dog. It's not that the ancestral dragon tattoo is not impressive. It's that the celestial horse is more comparable in value. The old celestial master chuckled, giving Yi Xiaoyao a disgusted look. The holy Sin sighed, saying, "There are many things I can't bear." The others nodded in agreement, somewhat helplessly. Even the sword-slaying quasi-emperors shook their heads in silence. Obviously, they couldn't bear it either. Yi Xiaoyao remained silent, glancing at the second master. He remembered that 2 days ago, the second master had a magnificent 9 dragons pulling a coffin tattoo, majestic and imposing, giving off an overwhelming sense of pressure. How is the cultivation of the transformation god-demon technique progressing? Yi Xiaoyao asked again. There's no problem. The others nodded in agreement, their faces showing embarrassment. To cultivate this divine ability, they had experienced the pain of childbirth, almost to the point of numbness. Then let's set off tomorrow, Yi Xiaoyao said after a moment of thought. He had been researching the secret treasures of the body during this time, and had gained some insights. His cultivation also needed to improve immediately. Okay. The crowd nodded, then Yi Xiaoyao left the main hall, returned to his pavilion, and publicly announced his seclusion. The 9 directional laws are basically determined: power, soul, sword, lightning, time, space, truth, and falsehood, fate, and death. Yi Xiaoyao sat cross-legged, quietly contemplating. Among those more than 200 test subjects, several possessed rare law-based powers, but their levels were too low. If they were a little higher, their combat power would be terrifying. For example, the truth and falsehood laws. Once unleashed, everything in sight could be considered true, everything could be false. Even enemy divine abilities could be classified as false. False things naturally couldn't harm oneself. Very strange laws. Of course. Most terrifyingly, no one can surpass the law of destiny, just like the Misty Empress's divine body of destiny. If you activate the mystery of fate, how you die is basically determined by her. The heavenly secret ancestor possesses many top-tier skills, and one of them, warding off bad luck, falls within the scope of the law of destiny. If you're unlucky, even sleeping at home, a meteor could fall from the sky and crush you to death. Of the 9 laws, 8 are for oneself, and the last one, the law of death, is for self-preservation, protecting the lives of others. To put it bluntly, a righteous disciple who dies on the battlefield can utilize the law of death to prevent their body from disintegrating into dust, directly transforming into a ghost. This law was actually learned by a group of demonic cultivators outside the Heavenly Master's Holy Land, after witnessing a group of demonic cultivators turn into ghosts after death. Currently, the law of thunder, the law of time, and the law of space are nearing completion. With sufficient resources, I can completely master all 6 laws. Yi Xiao took a deep breath. Ding, the number of cultivators of transformation into a divine demon technique has reached 500, rewarding 3 quasi-emperor Dao fruits. Ding, the number of cultivators of ghost back tattoo has reached 1,000, rewarding 1 supreme Dao emperor weapon, dragon origin sword, and 1/7 aperture exquisite divine herb. Hearing the system's voice, Yi Xiao's spirit was greatly shaken, his face filled with ecstatic joy. There are very few cultivators of the Great Emperor technique, yet the rewards are so abundant. Quasi-Emperor Dao fruits, containing the essence of a Quasi-Emperor's lifetime of cultivation, and even containing 9 laws, they are of immense help to his understanding of the laws. Not to mention the Supreme Dao Emperor weapon and a divine herb. This level of treasure, whether in the sacred land or the demonic path, can cause bloodshed and chaos. The Heavenly Demon Sect, as the foremost demonic sect, possesses 2 Supreme Dao Emperor weapons and a divine herb. These are the fruits of countless years of accumulation, representing their inner strength. Yet Yi Xiao, by simply teaching a Great Emperor technique, can easily obtain them. If I create 100 Great Emperor techniques, wouldn't divine herbs and Supreme Dao Emperor weapons appear in large numbers? Yi Xiao's heart stirred. He suddenly realized that he wasn't far from the Great Emperor realm. Moreover, with the divine herbs and the Quasi-Emperor Dao fruit, after he achieves Great Emperor status, he could create a large number of Great Emperors. Even his own guard dog could become a Great Emperor. This era is different from the past. The laws of heaven and earth are complete, and there is no longer a limitation of only one Great Emperor existing in any given era. The myths of the age have reappeared. It's like a group of great emperors have appeared, and the darkness in the forbidden zone of gods and demons has just emerged. I guess they'll all be crushed to death. Yi Xiao took a deep breath, suppressing the excitement in his heart. It was too early to talk about these things. He needed to increase his cultivation first. Then, he took out a spherical ball of light from his storage system, resembling a black hole, containing a miniature universe filled with 9 laws of nature, the 5 elements: wind, thunder, time, and destruction. Without a word, Yi Xiao directly swallowed the black hole ball of light. In an instant, the laws within his body exploded. The energy of a Quasi-Emperor Dao fruit was too great. Ordinary people simply couldn't withstand such immense power of laws. Even Yi Xiao in his saint stage might not have been able to bear it. However, he was now fearless. He was already a great saint, and having cultivated the Chaos Immortal Demon technique and perfected the Chaos Immortal Demon body, he could completely contain it. Boom! A point of light condensed from Yi Xiao's left calf, then transformed into a small white tree. Thunder crackled and exploded on it, like a lightning tree. The Law of Thunder. The small lightning tree, nourished by the Law of Thunder contained within the Quasi-Emperor Dao fruit, began to grow visibly, instantly becoming a towering tree, seemingly revealing a small world of thunder within. Yi Xiao's understanding of thunder deepened, reaching its peak. Then, a point of light also converged in Yi Xiao's left hand, growing into the form of a small tree, a transparent tree with time flowing within it. The Law of Time. The time tree grew stronger and stronger, finally reaching perfection. As for the Dao fruit containing his own laws, Yi Xiao directly discarded them. He didn't need them, he only absorbed the energy within the Dao fruit to strengthen himself. His physical body, soul, and laws continuously grew stronger. After absorbing everything, Yi Xiao once again took out a Dao fruit, swallowed it, and continued to strengthen himself. This Dao fruit contained spatial laws. It caused Yi Xiao's right hand to glow, the space tree to grow, and the spatial laws to reach a perfect state, as if he could control a region of space. The last Dao fruit, to Yi Xiao's delight, contained the death laws. He carefully comprehended and absorbed them, transforming them into his own laws, and finally gathered the death laws in his right thigh, reaching the great perfection stage. Unfortunately, it wasn't perfect. The 3 Dao fruits greatly boosted Yi Xiao's strength, allowing him to master 7 Dao laws, just half a step away from reaching the peak of the Great Saint realm. This time, what a trick! The world is divided into yin and yang, and the Dao is divided into righteous and evil. Righteousness draws upon the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, strengthening the foundation and cultivating the essence. Evil steals the very essence of life and death, seeking immediate gain. Evil hinders cultivation, seeking immortality. Welcome, fellow Taoists. From the beginning, Yi Xiaoyao's strength was already immense. His chaos immortal demon body suppressed all laws, and now, with the addition of 7 laws, he was completely invincible in the Great Saint realm. Even if 100 Great Saints surrounded and attacked him, he wouldn't die. As for the Quasi-Emperor realm, this level is somewhat special. It stands at the peak of the Great Tao, perfect and flawless. It's like saying that below the Quasi-Emperor level are children, while the Quasi-Emperor level is a mature state. All aspects are fully developed. Yi Xiaoyao is different from ordinary people. Although he was a child, he matured to be over 1.8 meters tall. Even if he couldn't defeat them, he could still escape unharmed. Now, Yi Xiaoyao's left hand controls time, his right hand controls space. His left leg controls lightning, his right leg controls death. His combat power is immense. Continue the transformation. With a left straight kick, I'll strike a Great Saint with lightning on the sole of my foot, killing 1 Great Saint. With a right side kick, I'll deliver 5 consecutive blows, killing 2 Great Saints. Yi Xiaoyao stretched his muscles and bones, a series of crackling sounds echoing throughout his body. His left leg emitted a white light, while his right thigh turned black, giving him a strange appearance, like a fortune teller. Time and space. Yi Xiaoyao used his left hand for time and his right hand for space, bringing his palms together, causing his body to instantly distort. From a distance, his figure appeared blurry, with overlapping symbols resembling the past, present, and future. The way of time and space, the superposition of these 2 laws, is truly terrifying. Yi Xiaoyao's expression was solemn. He had a premonition that if he ever attained the Great Emperor realm, he could create a time and space divine ability, traveling through space-time tunnels, traversing thousands or tens of thousands of years to kill weaker enemies. This kind of technique was to heaven-defying. Even Emperor techniques wouldn't be enough to describe it. It could be considered immortal techniques. Throughout the ages, no one had ever mastered these 2 laws simultaneously. Unfortunately, I can't reach that level right now. But with this, killing a Great Saint is like mowing grass. Yi Xiaoyao shook his head, not disappointed. Possessing the Tao of space and time, no one in this world is faster than him. If a Quasi-Emperor came to kill him, he could even reverse space and time, forcing them to retreat indefinitely. After adapting for a moment, Yi Xiaoyao sat down cross-legged again, drawing out a golden divine sword. Like the spine of an ancestral dragon, a wave of imperial power crushing the heavens. Even Yi Xiaoyao's breathing stopped. The supreme Tao imperial weapon, the Dragon Origin Sword. With this sword, he could suppress a Quasi-Emperor, provided the opponent didn't possess a supreme Tao imperial weapon. This is the second supreme Tao emperor weapon Yi Xiaoyao possesses. The other is an ancient bronze coin used for divination. Unlike the 9-left Phoenix tablet, he currently cannot activate that item, but the Dragon Origin Sword can, greatly enhancing his combat power. With this sword, as long as the Dark Forbidden Zone doesn't cause chaos, I'm safe. Yi Xiaoyao began refining the Dragon Origin Sword. As for the 7-aperture exquisite divine medicine, this is a heaven-defying divine medicine for healing. If Yi Xiaoyao were killed, it could be revived within a day. Go out and plunder a lot, plunder people and resources, and I can almost reach the Quasi-Emperor realm. Yi Xiaoyao pondered while refining. The more than 200 saints in the laboratory were simply not enough for him to comprehend, especially the true and false Tao and the Tao of destiny, these 2 great laws. There were only 1 or 2, not even enough to touch the door. Their reference value was too low. Besides, he still needed to push his chaos immortal demon body towards great perfection, requiring more primordial body essence. The system's rewards were currently very scarce in primordial body essence rewards. He could quickly snatch some for himself. The next day, having made all the preparations, Yi Xiaoyao and 20 of the strongest Great Saints of the Righteous Path Alliance left Bazo and headed to the Taiyan Demon Palace. Yi Xiaoyao led the way, with the Sin Saint, the heaven-shattering Great Saint, and others as subordinates. Before leaving, they took a Supreme Tao Emperor weapon from the misty immortal palace, the Sky-Shattering Mirror. It could instantly break through the Emperor's formation. Any spatial sealing divine ability would be ineffective against it. As for the Quasi-Emperors, they didn't go. Each Quasi-Emperor had an extremely important role, as they were preparing for a large-scale war to prevent attacks from the demonic path. Can we really steal the Yin Demon Palace's divine medicine? The sinful saint, walking in the void, looked at Yi Xiao, though he was also a little nervous and excited. This was a divine medicine. If they obtained it, it was impossible to say whether they could create a quasi-emperor. Like the great sage Shishin, he cultivated the Yin Dao, mastering the other 8 laws, including the Sun Dao, but lacking the Yin law. If he swallowed the Yin divine medicine, it was possible to use the Yin power contained within it to enter the quasi-emperor realm. The quasi-emperor realm would play an extremely important role in this war. Of course we can. A heaven-shattering realm cultivator can break through their imperial formation and enter their treasure vault in a single trip. It's not a problem at all, Yi Xiao said with a smile. This kind of divine medicine cannot be placed in a small world or storage bag. Even he can only put it in the system's storage column. Then that's good. Let's take a gamble. This is like venturing into a dragon's lair or a tiger's den. The great sage Xiaotiao was the most excited. His eyes were resolute. This time, even if it meant death, he wanted to try. The others were also very much looking forward to it. The Taiyan Demon Palace was a top-tier demonic sect, and within it were countless rare treasures, sacred medicines, and other rare items. If they obtained them, their cultivation would undoubtedly increase. Many of the sacred medicines also contained the power of laws. After all, they were products of the evolution of laws. If they could get a few strands of the true Tao and the Tao of Destiny's sacred medicine, it would be even better for Yi Xiao. Meanwhile, while Yi Xiao and his group were heading to the Taiyan Demon Palace, on the other side, in Zizhou, the most prosperous city, Lingdu City. At this time, the city was occupied by the Blood Jade Saint of the Asura sect, leading 30,000 demonic cultivators, and the entire capital was filled with the smell of fresh blood. It was the blood of small righteous cultivators. Many righteous cultivators were captured, used in gladiatorial arenas, and thrown into deadly battles to slaughter each other. Demonic cultivators from various factions were used for betting, and some righteous female cultivators were turned into trading playthings. Any war represents the ugliness of human nature and the intertwined interests of the masses. In the large circular gladiatorial arena of Lingdu City, the sounds of people surged. Countless demonic cultivators excitedly roared, staring intently at the 2 young men fighting each other in the arena. Both were spirit realm cultivators. One was a scarred demonic cultivator, the other a young man in a blue robe, a prodigy from the green smoke sect of the righteous path. Too weak. The scarred demon stared intently at the young man in blue, like a cat playing with a mouse, blocking the incoming blade and kicking it away with a single blow. He laughed loudly, saying, "I remember you're called Liu Cheat, and your sister, Liu Mei, is quite beautiful, very alluring. You beast." The young man in blue remembered the sister the scarred demon had kidnapped, and roared in anger, charging forward recklessly. "Ha ha ha, anger is good. The angrier you are, the stronger you become." The scarred demon laughed maniacally, engaging in a bloody battle. The young man in blue wasn't weak, but the scarred demon was stronger. In an instant, his head was severed by a single blow, and he died on the spot. The blood after anger is even more valuable. The scarred demon chuckled coldly, advancing to devour the young man in blue's blood. Immediately afterward, he seemed to have consumed a powerful tonic, his aura becoming even stronger. "This battle, I win, you lose." The scarred-faced demon laughed heartily, gloating as he looked towards the many fellow disciples watching from the platform. "Useless, useless. This scarred-faced guy is the weakest in the Asura sect, and he could even kill this. A worthless genius from the righteous sect, truly useless. Damn it, he made me lose 300 yuan stones. Is that guy in blue the strongest young generation in the town? He's unusually weak." Around them, a group of defeated demon cultivators cursed loudly, spitting at the corpse of the young man in blue, while those who won were beaming with excitement. And on the platform, a group of intelligent flying birds and beasts occupied a corner, also placing baits, and upon seeing this, they too began to roar in anger. It was a chaotic dance of demons. These were the Kui Ni mountain oxen under the command of the demonic beasts. What a bunch of beasts! Beasts! These immortal demonic cultivators, even as ghosts, I wouldn't accept this. Meanwhile, in a black iron cage within the arena, a group of young men and women, witnessing the tragic death of their familiar senior brother and the subsequent humiliation inflicted by the demonic cultivators, couldn't help but seethe with rage. At the same time, they felt pity and sorrow. Only after truly engaging in war with the demonic path did they realize just how cruel and powerful these demonic cultivators were. They considered the Righteous Path Alliance's rescue, but they weren't sure if those were a match for the demonic path. These demonic cultivators' techniques were ruthless, growing stronger with each battle, unstoppable. Should we cross the border of Yu's prefecture and attack Hejo? And in the highest position on the viewing platform, a man with 2 horns and a single leg licked his lips. The man with 2 horns on his head was none other than the later Queen Niu, also a saint, named Niu Huang. Speaking alongside him was the leader of this conquest of Zizhou, a crimson-robed old man, the Blood Jade Saint. No hurry, I'm waiting for the Righteous Path's reinforcements to arrive. The Blood Jade Saint held 2 blood-red walnuts in his hand, his eyes gleaming with shrewdness. Wait, how long will that take? There are no more high-grade blood element creatures in Zizhou. These Righteous Path youngsters have too low a cultivation level. They're useless against me. Niu Huang's eyes were bloodthirsty, filled with desire. Humans are the leaders of all living beings. Devouring their flesh and blood could increase the demon race's cultivation. This time, during the conquest of Zizhou, he had devoured many Dao integration and Dao severing realm cultivators. His cultivation had increased significantly, and this rapid increase was something he desperately wanted to seize. Conquering Crane Island and wiping out those righteous cultivators was his top priority. As for resistance, those self-proclaimed righteous cultivators were like pigs in a pigsty. No matter how strong a pig could be, it was just a meal on the table. If they don't help, won't those small righteous forces be disheartened? They will definitely come. The Blood Jade Saint chuckled. I've already set many traps in Crane Island. As long as they come, they'll never leave. You'll have plenty of blood to eat then. The Battle of Crane Island showed him the weakness of the righteous cultivators. They simply couldn't withstand a single blow. Upon his arrival, the high-ranking members of the demon sect reminded him that the righteous path was different from before, very powerful. Initially, he was very cautious, making all sorts of calculations before attacking the Crane continent. But in the end, many of his calculations proved useless. Formations, divine abilities, cultivation, elixirs. The righteous path was almost completely overwhelmed by the demonic path. Too weak. Where was the strength the high-ranking members of the demon sect claimed? Fine, I'll wait 2 more days. If they still haven't arrived in 2 days, I'll immediately attack the Crane continent. At most, my Queen Niu clan will go alone. Without you guys, we can easily deal with the so-called righteous path. Niu Huang restrained his murderous thoughts. Just then, in the arena, another righteous cultivator was beaten senseless by a demonic cultivator, his head and brains flying everywhere. This only increased his contempt. He realized that, given the weakness of the righteous path, the demonic alliance could directly wipe out 10 provinces of the righteous path. Directly attack the center of the righteous path alliance by Zhou. There was absolutely no need for cautious steps. In the face of absolute power, all obstacles were mere trifles. Ha ha ha, still a great beauty. I have to say, the women on the righteous path are truly captivating, unlike those Rakshasa women of our Asura sect. They're skilled at killing, but their skills in bed are terrible. At this moment, another battle began, with a captured righteous woman entering the fray. A young Asura sect prodigy excitedly met the challenge. Both were at the Dao integration realm, but the Asura sect excelled in killing and possessed many secret techniques to stimulate the body's vital points and unleash potential. As soon as he entered the arena, he began to crush her. In the end, this young prodigy of the Asura sect even forcefully stripped off the beautiful woman's clothes and, in front of everyone, engaged in that filthy act of sexual intercourse. Beast, beast. Anger, cries, and despair filled the cage of righteous cultivators surrounding him in the arena. Brother Lee, how about that? So short, ha ha. Let me see your penis too, let's do it. Meanwhile, the demonic cultivators in the stands showed no sympathy whatsoever. Their eyes were filled with excitement and fervor, each one clapping excitedly, their emotions reaching a climax. At this moment, the demonic cultivators in the war completely revealed their true nature. They tore apart the shackles of morality, crushed human kindness, and exposed their most primitive animalistic instincts. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! Just then, a sharp array alarm, like a clap of thunder, echoed throughout the entire spirit capital city. That was a formation positioned on the outskirts of the fortress, with a warning function. In an instant, the bustling arena fell silent, and each demonic cultivator suddenly turned their heads, gazing out at Lindu City from the outside. "We're coming for reinforcements. You're all dead. You're all dead." The beautiful woman seemed to have gone completely mad. Many cultivators from smaller righteous forces imprisoned in the cage couldn't help but become agitated, crying loudly. "Reinforcements? It's just a few slaves to contribute to the gladiatorial arena." The young man from the Asura sect sneered, not bothering to look at them. "Ha ha ha, excellent. We've been waiting for them to arrive." The Blood Jade Saint suddenly stood up, laughing loudly to the heavens. He was waiting for the Righteous Alliance to come and walk into his trap. Many demonic cultivators in the stands were also excited, showing no fear, only desire and ruthlessness. "Finally, we have fresh blood to enjoy." Niu Huang was even more excited, shouting loudly, leading many flying birds and beasts to rush towards the outskirts of Lingdu City. In an instant, outside Lingdu City, Linyu Saint had gathered 30,000 demonic cultivators, and in addition, there were more than 5,000 demonic beasts. Ox demons, mammoths, saber-toothed tigers, leopards, and other creatures all with enormous heads and bodies as hard as iron, resembling a torrent of steel. At this moment outside Lingdu City, the blood-colored teleportation array opened, and figures emerged one after another. Huo Zhao Ziqing, Feng Che, Wang Li, and even the new generation of Taixuan heavenly talents, Wang Fugui and Wang Quan, the Fugui brothers, also came out. These people were all cultivated by Yi Xiaoyao himself, and were leading figures among the younger generation in the Taixuan Holy Land. Now they had become generals in this large contingent. Over the years, they had all reached the Dao-slaying realm. This cultivation speed would be incredibly explosive in any era, since their talents weren't monstrous. However, in the Taichuan Holy Land, it was quite normal. Because of Yi Xiaoyao's method, the increase in cultivation wasn't too fast, and it was also stable. In an instant, 10,000 Taichuan disciples gathered. The vast majority were in the spirit realm, all ordinary Taichuan disciples. In front of Wang Li, a huge mirror radiated light, reflecting the images of those captured and imprisoned in cages in the arena. This mirror was called the Heaven-Seeking Mirror. Yi Xiaoyao obtained it from the son of the He-Huan ancestor years ago, and later, after becoming a saint, gave it to Wang Li, this dog king. "You are all seeking death." Wang Li's face darkened as he looked at the images in the mirror, then turned to look at the Blood Jade Saint and the numerous demonic cultivators, speaking each word distinctly. His eyes extremely gloomy. Jia Zikang was also furious, glaring intensely at the group of demonic cultivators. Those people were worse than beasts. Only so few people is the Righteous Path Alliance sending people to their deaths. Niu Huang frowned, looking at the numerous Taijuan disciples, deeply disappointed and enraged. After waiting so long, all they got were 10,000 people. Not even enough to fill a gap between their teeth. Are these high-ranking members of the Righteous Path Alliance out of their minds? 10,000 men against 30,000 of us. What a joke. This is the Taijuan Fire Child, isn't it? That alchemist, letting an alchemist lead the team. Is this some kind of joke? Damn it, I thought there were 50 or 60,000 people waiting to kill us. What a disappointment. The demonic cultivators cursed loudly, feeling humiliated. Not to mention that the demonic path was inherently stronger than the righteous path. Even with equal strength, 10,000 men couldn't defeat 30,000. All right, let's deal with these people and immediately attack Crane Island. The Blood Jade Saint was even more disappointed, waving his hand dismissively, completely uninterested. Although he hadn't met the Taijuan Holy Land before, he could discern his identity from his attire, and more importantly, he had seen the Fire Child's portrait in previous information from the Dao Alliance. That year, this guy achieved the status of a master of Czech cultivation. Feeling smug and self-satisfied, he bought a hot search and conveniently posted his boastful photos. Kill them all. I want to capture a few female cultivators to use as cauldrons. Especially you, motherfucker, so beautiful. She's mine. As he spoke, a battle instantly erupted, without any calculation, only overwhelming force. Numerous demonic cultivators rushed towards the 10,000 Taijuan disciples, their eyes filled with excitement. Especially upon seeing one of them, dressed in white trousers, with a graceful posture and exquisite beauty, holding a gentle zither. It was Taijuan Su Miaoyin. 10 years had passed, and she had blossomed into a charming and graceful woman. Now her reputation was considerable. Among the new generation of female prodigies in the Kangyuan realm, her beauty could rank among the top 10, the number one of the 10 most beautiful women. You still dare to covet my junior sister? Jia Zikang's face grew even more grim, veins bulging wildly on his forehead. These demonic cultivators had truly lost their reason and humanity. Countless people in this world admired Sumaoan, but not a single one dared to lay a hand on her. Because her leader was Yi Xiaoyao. In the current situation, being targeted by Yi Xiaoyao meant that even a great saint of the demonic path would be severely punished, if not killed. Kill them all. Leave no one alive. Huo Tongzi stomped forward with his short legs, roaring loudly. Swish, swish, swish. 10,000 disciples, hearing this, immediately pulled out their Gatling guns, the cold, mechanical sound of loading echoing. Bang, bang, bang. Blue flames erupted, a torrential rain of bullets relentlessly bombarding the charging demonic cultivators. From afar, it looked like a vast blue ocean pouring down towards the demonic cultivators. The originally smiling, excited group of demonic cultivators instantly froze. A blood-curdling scream echoed across the sky, and the demonic cultivators at the forefront were instantly riddled with bullet holes. Their powerful divine abilities and escape techniques all seemed pale and powerless at this moment. They didn't even have a chance to use them. They died instantly. This spiritual treasure created by Yi Xiaoyao could slaughter anyone below the heavenly human realm, and even those in the Tao integration realm wouldn't dare confront it. Let alone the 30,000 demonic cultivators, most of whom were in the spirit realm, not even at the heavenly human realm. How could they possibly stop it? This scene was incredibly shocking, like a modern army encountering an ancient army of complete and utter annihilation. What kind of spiritual treasure is this? Impossible. When did the Righteous Path Alliance acquire such a powerful weapon? Retreat, retreat. In the blink of an eye, 2,000 demonic cultivators were wiped out. Seeing this, the other demonic cultivators' scalps instantly tingled, and they roared in terror, retreating incessantly. This was nothing like what they had imagined. They had thought it would be easy prey, but upon contact, they were struck by a devastating attack. That weapon, blazing with blue flames, was not a spiritual treasure, but clearly the scythe of death. They had never seen anything so terrifying. Only a few powerful demonic beasts, relying on their steel-like bodies, managed to withstand it. Niu Huang, let your subordinates hold their ground. Blood Jade Saint's expression also changed, and he roared angrily, their weapons are powerful. If they can hold their ground, they will surely defeat the Taijuan disciples. Kill! Niu Huang was also terrified, but he wasn't afraid. He sneered, immediately deploying a large number of saber-toothed tigers as human shields, enduring the barrage of bullets, the clanging of blades echoing loudly. Seeing this, the demonic cultivators all breathed a sigh of relief and charged forward in anger. If it weren't for these demonic beasts changing their neutrality and defecting to the demonic path, the situation in Zizhou wouldn't have stalled so quickly. Huo Tongzi's eyes were cold as he roared, their thick skin. What does it matter? Blow them all up. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 10,000 Taijuan disciples clattered in unison, stopping their Gatling guns on the ground, then casually throwing out babies one after another. It was like throwing grenades. What the hell is this? Throwing babies in battle? Niu Huang was stunned, watching the overwhelming number of babies flying towards them, somewhat bewildered. He couldn't understand it. Whatever it is, eat it all. A bull demon roared, already seething with rage. Seeing the adorable baby flying towards it, with its simple mind, it didn't think twice. It directly opened its blood-filled maw, its tongue wrapped around the baby, and swallowed it whole. Then, boom! The bull demon's sturdy body, dozens of meters tall, exploded, blood and flesh flying everywhere. Exploded, exploded. The surrounding pack of saber-toothed tigers were stunned, their long teeth trembling with fear. The group of demonic cultivators were even more shocked, their hearts pounding, simply unable to believe it. What kind of demonic power is this? Is this a divine power a human can create? Even a baby can explode. A chill ran from their feet to the back of their necks. Rumble, rumble, rumble. With each blast of the child's explosive attack, the demonic beasts, posing as human shields, were instantly annihilated, unable to defend themselves. In an instant, over 1,000 demonic beasts were reduced to minced meat. Niu Huang's eyes turned red, his heart bleeding. These were all his trusted subordinates. Retreat, retreat, withdraw. The Blood Jade Saint's eyelids twitched wildly, the walnuts in his hand crushed, and he screamed frantically. He wasn't unfamiliar with small-scale warfare, but none was like what he was witnessing. Before even advancing, his side had already suffered losses of thousands of men, completely defying all logic. Not to mention killing a single enemy, they hadn't even touched a hair on the enemy's head. The righteous cultivators from the previous continent were simply no match for this Taijuan disciple. Retreat to Lingdu City, activate the encirclement formation. I don't believe we can't defeat these people. Blood Jade Saint said gloomily. He felt somewhat fortunate that he had made calculations and set up the formation beforehand. I will make those people pay a terrible price. He roared, completely consumed by malice. Yes, yes, hurry up and retreat, then we'll find an opportunity to counterattack. A group of demon cultivators and demons, as if granted a great pardon, immediately retreated, instantly moving far away, beyond the range of Gatling guns. The distance is too great. What if we can't reach them? Should we pursue them? Seeing this, Wang Fugui said, eagerly watching the lively and exciting battle unfolding before him. No need, the task the Emperor Master assigned me is to wipe out these 30,000 demon cultivators and demons without wasting a single soldier. Firechild waved his small hand. Compared to the life of a Taijuan disciple, Yi Shengyao valued it far more, preferring to waste some resources. He also didn't want to sacrifice a Taijuan disciple. But a war, whether large-scale or small-scale, that completely annihilates the enemy without wasting a single soldier, this is simply impossible in history. If it were to happen, even the righteous, demonic, and ancient races would be shaken to their core. This signifies absolute power. Upload the rocket launchers. Firechild roared. With a whoosh, 5,000 disciples took out rocket launchers, slung them over their shoulders, while another 5,000 pulled out spirit infants, dressed them in adorable red bibs, and then inserted them into the rocket launchers, posing as rocket projectiles. This was a new type of weapon Yi Shengyao had created 10 years ago. The spirit infants were given fire bibs, along with the added red buffs, enhancing their burning, armor-piercing, and explosive power. Combined with the spiritual treasure, its range surpasses that of a Gatling gun, matching even heavy sniper rifles, and its power far exceeds that of a single spirit core. Boom, boom, boom. Each resounding explosion shook the shoulders of 5,000 disciples, their bodies violently jolted by the shockwave. Following closely behind, countless spirit cores erupted, like shooting stars streaking across the sky, a fiery red expanse, engulfing the retreating demonic cultivators and demons in a devastating onslaught. Wait until we return to Lingdu City, use the power of the formation to kill these people. Tour, speed up even more. A demonic cultivator, head down, galloped towards Lingdu City, calling out to his Dao companion without looking back. This time, the war was fought with his Dao companion. The main focus was on male and female cooperation, making the battle less tiring. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, a powerful blow swept across the ground behind him, sending him tumbling several times, kicking up dust. Huh? The demonic cultivator was startled, immediately searching for his Dao companion. Looking up, he saw a black object clatter before him. It was an embroidered shoe, tattered beyond repair, with black smoke rising from it. Tour. The demonic cultivator couldn't believe it. His Dao companion, who had just been talking to him, was now just a shoe. Ah! At the same time, a series of earth-shattering screams followed closely by a series of powerful explosions. In front, behind, and in all directions, countless demonic cultivators were blasted into the air. The ground was like a pit of holes, uneven and incredibly tragic. A clean sweep. Another 6,000 people received their boxed meals without even a word. They were sent straight to their deaths. Is there no justice? How could we be hit from such a distance? A severely injured demonic cultivator in the Dao integration realm cursed loudly. Turning his head, he saw a group of small children wearing red bibs flying towards him, terrifying him so much that he quickly used his great escape technique to fly away into the sky. Not only him, but many others also flew into the air. With this kind of large-scale clean sweep, staying on the ground meant certain death. Quickly escape back to Lingdu City, use the defensive formation. Don't stay on the ground, fly away quickly. Blood Jade Saint roared, equip the rocket launchers with tracking devices, mark the enemy, and track the rockets. Following Firechild's roar, a group of Taijuan disciples pulled out small compasses and attached them to the rocket launchers. This was a small device created by Yishaya 10 years ago, called radar, which could distinguish the demonic energy on the bodies of demon cultivators, automatically track them, and accurately detonate them. Boom, boom, boom. Another group of children flew through the air. Dodge, dodge. The countless demon cultivators were terrified, scrambling to dodge in midair. However, to their dismay, those children seemed to have eyes of their own. Once in midair, they would suddenly turn sharply and explode with a solid bang onto a heavenly human realm demon cultivator. Like being struck by a giant bird, the black smoke-emitting demonic cultivator plummeted straight down, crashing to the ground with a thud, sending up a cloud of dust. He fell to the ground like a crate. Holy cow, is this even allowed? Taijuan Holy Land, let alone martial virtue. If you have the guts, fight one-on-one. Is there any law left? Is there any justice? Those people are cheating. Who cares? The remaining demonic cultivators were so wrong they wanted to vomit blood, desperately fleeing. They were truly humiliated. They were so powerful, yet they didn't even have a chance to show it before these people, who had pulled out such deadly weapons from nowhere. Wiped out a large number of them. How is this possible? Are these people really righteous? Niu Huang looked at his dead subordinates, tears welling up in his eyes, simply unable to believe it. He belonged to the demon clan, situated at the border between the righteous and demonic factions, and had a thorough understanding of both sides. The weakness of the righteous faction was well known, but this group of Taijuan disciples clearly exceeded his expectations. Their weapons were excessively powerful. In an instant, the demonic cultivators finally retreated to Lingdu City. The formation activated, forming a gigantic light screen that blocked all the bombardment. After all, it was a formation. If it could withstand the attacks of a saint, these children naturally couldn't be blown up. Blood Jade Saint, 6,000 of my demon clan are dead. 6,000! Almost all of them are wiped out. Niu Huang's eyes were bloodshot as he roared at Blood Jade Saint. Although the demonic beasts had gained sentience, they were ultimately not humans. Their intelligence seemed inferior, and their reactions were not as quick as the demonic cultivators. They were all killed in 2 waves of bombardment. My demonic sect lost 20,000 men. My heart is bleeding. The Blood Jade Saint was also greatly angered. The losses were too devastating. Previously, when they attacked the March continent, they only lost 1,000 men, and the final result was the plundering of a large amount of resources, a bloody victory without loss. But now, they didn't even get close to the disciples of the Taijuan sect, and they lost 20,000. 2,000 men died in a battle of the Spirit Spear, a fierce battle that is unimaginable in history. News of this will surely cause a sensation in the demonic alliance, and he will bear the heavy responsibility. He absolutely never imagined that the Taijuan sect was now so powerful. When did Yishaya create these weapons? What do we do now? If I can't avenge my subordinates, I will die without contention. Niu Huang looked towards the Taijuan disciples rapidly approaching from outside the city, his resentment reaching its peak. No matter the cost, these Taijuan disciples must die. Not a single one can be spared. Blood Jade Saint's face turned pale, gritting his teeth in determination. Among those 20,000 demonic cultivators, not only were there disciples from the Asura sect, but also from the other 12 sects. If he didn't annihilate these Taijuan troops, he wouldn't die on his return, but he would be skinned alive by the high-ranking members of the demonic alliance. The demonic path has never shown mercy to the defeated in battle, even to those within their own ranks. Activate the attack formation. Blood Jade Saint roared. His voice shook the heavens, and all the fleeing demonic cultivators were shaken, each bringing out their formation flags and angrily deploying their formations. They wanted revenge. Activate the formation. Charge forward. Outside the city, Zhao Zikang looked at Huo Tongzi somewhat impatiently. They're using formations. We'll use negotiation techniques to break their formations. Huo Tongzi pondered for a moment, then lightly clapped his hands and shouted, "Bring out the medley of soldiers." Yes. As soon as he finished speaking, more than 100 people from the Taijuan disciples came out, each with crooked eyebrows and squinting eyes. What kind of ghosts are these? On the city wall of Lingdu City, Blood Jade Saint stared at the more than 100 people who had appeared, somewhat bewildered. It wasn't just that, because he noticed that these people seemed abnormal. Some had one eye looking up at the sky and the other down at the ground. Some had half their faces crying and half their faces smiling. All 100 people were like this, creating an extremely bizarre scene. Hehe. Leading them was a young man, drooling and giggling foolishly. He was Yi Zhaoyao's most capable disciple, the one who had forced King Chen Nangshuan to discuss Buddhist philosophy with the little monk, resulting in the little monk wedding himself. His mental state had become even more pathological during Yi Zhaoyao's 10 years of tutelage. It was because of this that he created the Heavenly Gang's sacred technique, the mental illness technique, along with some mental illness killing moves and various other techniques. Even Yi Zhaoyao, whether truthfully or falsely, claimed that the source of inspiration for the death law was Chen Nangshuan. The king of show-offs wants to show off, retreat quickly. Jia Zikang's face changed upon seeing this, and he immediately retreated. The 10,000 Taijuan disciples also turned pale, seeing these 100 people as if they had seen a monstrous beast, retreating frantically, more terrified than seeing their own father. In the Taijuan sacred land, although they all cultivated Yi Zhaoyao's methods, many of their paths differed. These were the most unorthodox disciples of Taijuan. They were also the future most powerful disciples of the Taijuan sacred land. The most terrifying thing is a group of people. Tran Buk Vuong, the first patient at the psychiatric hospital, was given the title the king of mental illness. What's going on? 100 people, and even they themselves are scared away. The demonic cultivators on the city wall were stunned, their crotch twitching uncontrollably. Just 100 people. Theoretically, 1,000 would be enough to surround and kill them. But they gave the entire battlefield an intense sense of oppression, making it suffocating.